Jones, and I'm here to tell you folks, the world has fallen. The fascist globalist overlords, oh, they're implementing the Great Reset. You don't believe me? I've seen the tapes. Watch it, folks. Watch as these pot-bellied Zoomer goblins work with the Illuminati to pit us against each other. I promised I'd be a good boy.
Ugh, I'm a good boy.
There's only one cure, folks, and that's liberty. And there's no better channel to find freedom than Fabian Liberty. Anarchy is order. Government is civil war.
You're offensive. Police lives matter?
We're just trying to do school.
What?
You guys have the same sticker as the other.
But this is our space. You're making the space uncomfortable. But you're white.
You're fucking a white male!
What is one way you combat racism? I don't root for white people on the sidewalk.
They want your wallets, they want your guns, they want the wieners off your sons. Democrats.
Oh, we should film
So let's say, for the sake of argument, that all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
Just one small problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman! Vaccine!
Children, they're spreading COVID throughout the population at higher numbers. And people are not entitled to turn themselves into deadly biological weapons by spraying disease-laden aerosols wherever they choose, randomly killing innocent people. This is not freedom, this is homicide, and willful ignorance is no excuse.
What the fuck?
Highest margin of victory yet. It's really impressive. Though, I'm starting to think he might have had help from the Russians.
Look at me, I'm a gay frog. I'm so cool, I'm so neat. I'll never have children and I'm sterilized. But the media says I'm totally cool. I'm a gay frog, I'm a gay fish. It's so good, and I think my daddy atrazine.
Whew! Boys, I was busy. I got like finished rehearsing and getting my intro down and trying to get it under 5 minutes. And then I like looked at the clock and was like, oh, it is like 6:50. Merry belated Christmas, boys, ladies and gentlemen. I know there's at least a few females out there that watch the show. You know, which I don't know why. I'm not that much to look at. And, online politics is definitely a dude thing. Hell, YouTube, for the most part, is predominantly males. It's like something on my contact or something. But yeah, no, I'm definitely excited about tonight. I'm excited to do this. I don't think Nonfon knows what he's about to get into. So I talked with Nonfon before. I did a stream where I spoke with him, and hilariously enough, it was the lowest views I've had on YouTube, like ever. like I did it on the night that I did Heroes of Capitalism, with James Cash Penney. It was like that's what was scheduled before, and it actually destroyed my views for Heroes of Capitalism Live, because I went to talk to him about econ and about Austrian economics and tariffs, and like he was very much like it was very much like it was bad. It was bad. It was like he was. Well, it wasn't that like he was bad or anything. It's just, first of all, economics is boring. But instead of it becoming like a heated discussion or like a back and forth, it was just him being like, what are you talking about? What is this thing? And he kind of found his footing after a while, but I hope you start your presentation by repeating the proposition, yelling no, and doing a victory lap. I hope so as well. It's just young and learning. I mean, that's true of like a lot of these kind of Destiny, dim sock, lefty, skinny little, like there's a million people like Nonfon in the streaming world. I might have to switch out and take my contacts out. Hold on. What the fuck is on my... This is a high quality stream. It turned into something gross. I am fearless when it comes to putting contacts in and out. Oh, that's better. Yeah, whatever the hell was on my contact is gone now. I cleaned it off. There we go. Quit touching your eyeball, dude. I was taking my contact out, all right? It had like something in it, and I could feel like a fog in my left eye. Still better than Toyolo. Toyolo was interesting for like a different reason. You know what I mean? Like it was like, we all knew Toyolo was going to be a shit show, right? Like, so it became entertaining because it was a shit show. Yeah, it irritated my left eye. Yeah, one of the interesting things about this debate, right, is that like, I have to, also, I still don't really quite get the format of this show, but we'll see what happens. I'm supposed to go there at like 6:50 Central. So in like 30 minutes. And like listen to the rules. I was told I have time for an opening statement. So I wrote an opening statement and I got it to about 5 minutes, which is what he said, you have a 5-minute opening statement. But then I'm supposed to stay and watch. So I guess I'll just like find wherever his stream is and we'll just kind of react to his stream while it's going on so I can watch the second debate. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to watch like from the sidelines other than like watching his stream. And I don't know what Lactoid and Liberal Cluck are debating. All I know is that every time I tried to put Liberal Cluck in the description or title or tags, that like YouTube kept being like, sorry, there was an error, which is like their way of saying you said a bad word. Is Nonfon a good debater? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, maybe he's amazing. I don't know. I had a discussion with him, like I said earlier, about econ, but he didn't know what he was talking about. Economics is boring. Scott, hand back your libertarian card. Dude, it is to most people, though. It's like a form of entertainment. It's like the same thing with tonight, right? Like, if I wanted to win this debate for, like, the intellectual philosopher, all I would talk about tonight is where are rights derived from, why you can't use consequentialism to derive a right. Why, positive rights about, like, I would just hammer him all night about that. But like, because there's an audience vote, I know that's going to be like one of the 3 votes. I think it's like 2 judges and then an audience vote. Right. And I don't expect to win both judges handedly. Right. Like, so if I want to win, I'm probably going to need to capture the audience vote. Yeah. as you can see from Streamlabs bot, like the stream, 24 you watching, only 6 likes. Well, now it's 22. Right? Like, share, subscribe, join the Discord. Follow me on X or Twitter. I should get it back tomorrow. I've been locked out for 7 days. Apparently, X frowns upon telling people that they should neuter themselves and save the human race if they utter the words, quote, "This discussion shouldn't be based on philosophy." Apparently they don't like that. Apparently that's bad. Apparently that's glorification of violence. Which, I mean, I guess, but I mean, a lot of things are glorification. Saying taxes are good is a glorification of violence. You know what I mean? Like glorification of using violence is like literally, like, in order for X to have like a meaningful TOS for like violent speech, they would literally have to ban all discussions of politics. Other than pacifists. Pacifists would be the only people that are allowed to not violate TOS on X. It's like, it's a dumb TOS, the like glorification of violence. It's like, really? Like, have you guys been on X recently? I see 1,000 posts about that. We need to invent a new language that stays one step ahead. Interesting. Yeah, it's economics, much like philosophy, is boring to most people. It just is what it is. Like, I mean, so if you're going to discuss econ or you're going to discuss philosophy, you have to tailor it in such a way that if you and your goal is to grow your channel and reach new people so that new people can do that, you have to recognize you have to sprinkle these things in. If you just go, like, if you just constantly just talk about it hardcore, then, like, yeah, sure, you might make some videos that people can Google when they want to win an argument or something, but for the most part, you're not going to have a captivated, entertained audience. Have you missed anything? Well, I mean, August Leo, we've been doing a bunch. You know, I came back from break. I've been streaming a bunch more. You know, obviously I didn't stream, you know, this last Wednesday and Thursday because, you know, Christmas and stuff. We use words they can't ban. Yeah, that's probably true. The problem, Casimir, is, so I've actually thought about this problem a lot, about like how to avoid online censorship in the future of artificial intelligence, where, you know, the state actors and the CIA and the FBI and, you know, the National Endowment for Democracy and all these people are funding your own tax dollars to the tunes of untold hundreds of billions of dollars to censor the online spaces. Like, how do we, because like, they have developed to a point where, like, they know words like coof, for example, right? Like, we used to say the coof to, like, get around COVID. But, like, they censor you and know what you're talking about now because they have AI models that are tracking people that they can find are right-wing and then figure out what keywords they're using, right? And so, really, honestly, if we don't get, like, a resurgence of free speech, because, like, Elon Musk is barely doing it, right? Like, he still has Linda Yaccarino in charge of X, right? He still has many of the old guard there. They're still censoring people's speech. They're still utilizing, you know, AI software to silence conversations that don't agree with certain political stuff, right? What AI really struggles with, and what almost always requires human involvement, is satire. And so if we're going to be able to push ideas in the future on places like X or Facebook or Instagram and even YouTube, even video formats, right? We're going to have to learn to speak satire. We're going to have to learn to, like, say what the other side is saying with a smile and a wink and emphasis on certain words, right? That make it realize that, like, you know, you're being over the top. And then highlight problematic areas as if they're positive whilst engaging in satire. That's going to honestly probably be the only, because, like, there's no word usage that we can use that AI can't very quickly figure out whatever new word we use and adopt probably quicker than we can adopt. Like, by the time we figure out what the new word is, AI will already have figured out that that's one of our keywords. Zulu's pretty good on that. I don't watch enough Zulu content to know how good he is at that. Seems like more often than not, Zulu satirizes kind of like our own position. I don't know. When I see him do it on like Twitter and stuff. Pull this up. Okay. All right. Dude, this group chat of like debaters is way too talkative. Why are people adding me? Hold on. Oh my god, get rid of streamer mode. Liquid Night in Debate Bros. Stop adding me to say that someone is insulting you in the Debate Bros section of of the Discord. Okay, like, yeah, if you're in general and you guys are fighting back and forth in Discord and like insulting each other, I'm gonna be like, hey, take it somewhere else. But if you're literally in the Debate Bros section of Discord, like, that is what that section of Discord is for. I don't know if you're watching the fucking stream right now, but like, if someone is and wants to hop in Discord or like tell him like that I said that, like, stop. Like, yelling, you chose to get into the Debate Bros section and get into the gauntlet. Also, like the stream, boys. Look, $3.99 a month, you can get a membership. The only thing I'm offering you is emojis and your thanks, right? But it helps me do things like this, fight back the communists online, make content, do streams, etc. If you do a super chat, I will answer the super chat. Now, if I'm in the middle of like a championship debate, I might wait till right after that debate. But like, I will read super chat. I always read super. I've not missed a single super chat, and usually I get to them right away. Just depending on the certain stuff. And then of course, follow me on X if you want me to be toxic. If you want to get the Go Labs, go into the Discord because YouTube's Go Labs don't always go. Yo, thank you. See. So, but again, you know, I have to ask for money or else I don't get any. But more importantly than money, and I appreciate it, Ticky Tack, more importantly than money, is just like liking the video, telling other people I'm streaming if you have an opportunity, you know, farming clips and throwing them in Discord. Okay, you didn't have to do the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate it. But again, my likes went from 9 likes to 8 likes. Someone was like, well, he's got gifted memberships now. He doesn't need a like. You stop, boys. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. Okay. No question, just money, the best super chat. You know, Andrew Wilson says that all the time. He says that no question, just money is like his favorite type of super chat lights. I disagree. I like answering people's questions. I like getting into the nitty gritty. I like the engagement of like people that are so passionate about a specific question that they have or comment that they have, that they put money behind it to ensure that like I get on it. Scott, have you ever played Warcraft? Do you think that game is good? Are you talking about World of Warcraft? Like WoW? I played it when it came out. I played Burning Crusade pretty heavily. I played Wrath of the Lich King pretty heavily. And I don't mean World of Warcraft Classic. I mean like when the game came out. If that's what you're talking about. Played Cataclysm for a little while. And I played on some private servers. And like I played a little bit of Classic, but I couldn't get into it. Like I never like played it seriously after that. No, Warcraft, the off-brand version. I've never heard of Warcraft. But thank you guys. I appreciate it. I really do. But yeah, I'm super stoked about tonight. I'm excited to do this. I don't, like I said, there's like an audience voting section and there's judges. I have no idea who the judges are. So even more so, like I have no clue what I'm in for, right? Like there could be like 2 left-leaning judges. So like I could like just like lose by default. I have no idea. Funny, I have heard WoW can be quite addictive. I mean, WoW is, I mean, it's not a gacha game in the sense that there isn't like There's no like loot boxes or anything like that, but it's structured very similarly. And so yeah, it can be an addictive game because it has a similar feature that many gacha games have, which is like you know, this sunk cost fallacy. Like you spend so many years learning the shit, you like farm so many mounts, so many achievements, right? You end up in this position where you're like, well, I gotta log in and do my dailies, and like I can't quit, like, because if I quit I'll be behind, or I've put so much time, I put so many things into this. And that's kind of just like an MMO in general, but yeah, WoW's pretty good about it. I am excited about Ashes of Creation though. I mean, I haven't watched many of the streamers play Ashes of Creation, but like I am excited to play it. RuneScape is the best MMORPG game. I was never a big RuneScape fan. I did play oh god, why can I not think of the name now? Jesus Christ. It was the one that came out before WoW. It's where Dragon Kill Points comes from. EverQuest. I did play EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2. I also played Star Wars Galaxies. So like I did play some of the older MMOs. I mean, I think like I never played Ultima Online. Like not like I played like a private server to check it out once, but well, yeah, Wicked WoW, but like new no, I mean like WoW's not like that in terms of gear and stuff. I mean like WoW like will have a new dungeon come out and there'll be catch-up mechanics. It's really just about the gear, like the achievements and the mounts and things like that, and like the time investment. I mean, unless you just mean like power creep within like the season or within the thing. I've been playing a lot of Path of Exile 2 and I've been loving it, even with all of its even with all the problems. So there's that. Yeah, Casimir, I kind of get that. I understand crowdfunded can be an issue. PoE 2 is something I have played a little of. Yeah, PoE 2 is pretty fun. I mean, I agree. Like, PoE 2 is in early access, so there are a lot of issues with PoE 2, right? Like, the armor is broken. Like, if you have an armor build, like, you basically still get one shot by bosses because it's based off of, like, how much damage is done. So the armor scaling is an issue. The mapping has some issues. The on-death effects are still pretty punishing. The fact that, like, if you challenge a boss and you die, you have to then go re-farm mats so that you can try the boss again is, like, pretty rough. Want my druid and what sounds like a paladin in PoE 2. Neither of those are available right now, but there's only half the classes are out, so I assume there will likely be a paladin-esque character. Potentially, it might just be the Marauder, but it looks like the warrior kind of is the Marauder. A druid might be a thing in the future for sure. We'll see. We'll have to see. Build a witch hunter, so crossbow. Yeah, crossbow. Witch hunter seems fun. Gimling seems stronger right now, but again, it's early access, so things keep getting tweaked and nerfed. I was playing a sorceress and like playing the cast on freeze build, and then I got my build got deleted. Watching self-cast lightning builds 2-shot bosses is hilarious. Yeah, like the fucking monks that like drop lightning rods and then like drop a bell and then do like lightning damage and quarterstaff damage with the bell ringing and like just delete bosses and then watch them like miss one dodge roll and then die and have to farm maps again is like, it's like chef's kiss to watch them do 40% of the boss's health in like 2 seconds, start the next phase, and then miss a dodge roll and be dead. And they'll be like, well, I got to farm for an hour and a half so I can try this boss again. It's like, yo, what the fuck is this? It's a little rough right now, but I understand that it's early access, so I think they're making it a little bit more rough so that basically the I think they're making it rougher than it probably will be on release, so that there is like, so that people don't just like farm out all the tier 16 maps and then be like, okay, what's next? You know what I mean? That's what it seems like, but I don't know. They have some glaring issues to fix. And there's a lot of weapon skills and things that are missing from the game, so we'll see. In too late? Well, I mean, we haven't started the actual debate, so it's not really that big of a deal. What is happening? Dude, this group chat is way too talkative. Like with all the debaters. I don't like talkative group chats. Because then I have to like sift through them for like important information. Not a fan. Can I make a Kratos build on PoE 2? I mean, depends. Yeah, I'm playing a I just remade a character like the other day. And I'm in Act 3 trying it out. I'm playing like a gas arrow pathfinder, which is a ranger, but instead of doing the Deadeye, which like everybody's doing, I'm doing the like more poison focused build. I've gotten most bosses down on my second or third shot without more farming. The only one that has given my ranger gas arrow, check my Discord DMs. Okay, I literally just checked. There you go. I responded, I believe. You thought I was going to play DCS? I don't know what DCS is. Hold on. Lactoid is like DMing me about it. Yo, what's up, Grid Motorsports? I think, yeah, we're... All right, whatever. Really getting the right gear in PoE 2 is the tough part for me. Dude, you're telling me. Bro, my gas arrow build, there's only 4 bows in the game that I can use for my build to be viable. Well, maybe not viable, but like I might do live commentary on your debate. That's going to get weird when my debate finishes and then I'm doing live commentary on the other debater. It's like you're going to be doing live commentary on the live commentary. That'll be interesting. But yeah, you can do it on mine. I don't care. I think I'm supposed to go at 8, but Lactoid is saying that he's all supposed to be there at 8. So I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, fucking gear in PoE 2. Like fucking, I have to have a dual string bow because I need the innate +1 projectile. Or I can get like the Widowmaker one or whatever, or Widow Hail or whatever. The one that like buffs your quiver. As opposed, like it's a unique. So like if I got that, then yeah, sure, I'd be fine. But enough about PoE 2. I'm just saying that's what I'm currently playing. I'll probably do some Sunday, some PoE 2. And then if I can swing it, I'm gonna see if I can get like all of you Warhammer 40K. Well, I guess it's getting close to 41K now. But all you Warhammer 40K nerds. See if I can like schedule a time that a Sunday that you guys will come. See if I can maybe get somebody else and do like a combo where we hang out and we nerd out and we talk about Warhammer and like people educate me on stuff because I only know a little bit. And then maybe play like the newest Warhammer game. Scott, this should be a cool debate. Nonfon is pretty sharp. I've heard that from a bunch of people. I talked to him once, and he seemed pretty lost in the sauce. But we were talking about economics, and he had some basic understanding of Austrian economics. And when I say basic, I mean very basic. But to be honest, that's more than most people. Scott's D&D group gearing up soon. Dude, I want to play D&D so bad. The problem is finding, like, streaming playing is a lot different than playing. And dude, I would love to like find someone else that's a good DM, because like streaming and being a DM and trying to wrangle people together and it only be like a weekly thing and I've got all this other stuff going on is just like so much. You know what I mean? Like even if I was running a book. When is the debate? So the debate, so in 10 minutes I'm going to hop in the Discord. We're going to learn more about the format. And supposedly he told me 8 o'clock is the debate. But Lactoid is saying that he also got told 8 o'clock. But I don't know if that's because Lactoid was told to be there at 8 as opposed to the debate for him is at 8. And then after I debate, or I guess after Lactoid debates, one way or the other, you know, I'll do like live commentary and kind of watch his stream, and we'll just kind of wing it. And then we'll figure out what this format is. But he's going to describe the format in more detail here in like 10 minutes. All I know is that he gave me time for opening statement, and I wrote an opening statement, and I know what the topic is. He has in the past literally quoted the DGG playbook on. I don't know what the DGG playbook is. Is there a literal playbook? Is that a thing? Is there like is like the Destiny subreddit or something have like a source material on like approved DGG opinions? That is fucking wild. That's sad, actually. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It's not like as an ANCAP, I haven't looked at other ANCAP writers and philosophers and like, you know, taken inspiration from their debates and, you know, I mean, learned what it is that they're arguing because they're better than me, you know, in at least in terms of like the knowledge of it. But like, that's not the same thing as like, these are the DGG opinions. That's wild. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Like DGG is, I don't. It's like it bores me. To be honest, it bores me. That's how I feel about it. Like at this point, it's just like everybody always talks about DGG and Destiny, and I'm just like, ugh. I just hope Destiny gets his shit together and gets help at this point. I'm sick of hearing that guy's name. I'm sick of people like thinking he's relevant in any way other than clout. Jesus. I might end up having to switch to my glasses tonight. There's like something on my contact that even when I washed it, it was having an issue. Maybe I just have like a dry eye or something. I don't know. What's better, knowledge or intelligence? I mean, obviously it depends on the situation. Overall, I would say intelligence is better than knowledge, but only if one has the drive to utilize that intelligence to gain knowledge. Right? Like intelligence is only part of the equation to gaining knowledge. What do you think of the huge Twitter debate and the purges? I've been locked from Twitter for the past 7 days. I get my Twitter back Saturday. So like, I've heard that there's been some shit about like fucking H-1B visas and like people getting kicked off or censored or something, but I don't really know it because well, it doesn't hurt lights. It's like there's like you know, like when you get sleep in your eyes, it like feels like I slept in my contact, but I didn't. Just like there's like a film or something. It's like keeping it from seeing clearly. I was hoping I could lubricate it and get it off. Anyways, usually intelligent people seek knowledge. That's not true. Intelligent people with high personality trait conscientiousness seek knowledge, right? Like people that are intellectually curious, right? That's kind of a form of intelligence, you could say, right? But I would say that like, it's just intelligence by itself is inactive, right? It's not really doing much for you. It's doing something for you in the sense that you're capable of seeing bullshit, right? You're capable of thinking to a certain degree, but even that requires knowledge, right? You know, you can be quick-witted and like quick on the pickup, but like intelligence for the most part is passive. So you have to have the capacity to utilize your intelligence for something for it to really matter. Yeah, I kind of heard the same thing, Lights, but like I don't know. Elon wants enormous amounts of H-1B. Indian tech workers and right-wingers want Americans at the forefront of those jobs. Elon is banning all dissenters. I mean, is he banning them or are they just like getting banned because they're like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Casimir, it was funny to see right wingers think they can press Lord Musk in his castle. You're kind of not wrong, right? Like, it is domain. Intelligence, as I see it, is the ability to rationalize and use context to solve a problem. I mean, there's a lot more to intelligence, I would say, but yeah, sure. I mean, like, kinesthetic intelligence is a thing, right? Being aware of where your body parts are and how they move and the limits of what your body can and can't do is also like intelligence, right? But that's almost instinctual. Like, there's very little like critical thought that goes into that. Like, maybe there's critical thought in the like, can I jump from here to here and make it, right? Like that part is a thinking part of it. But like, you know, being able to grab something quickly, like that is a form of intelligence, right? It's and it does correlate with G factor, right? Trying to teach people martial arts that are stupid is actually pretty difficult. Like, it requires, like, the smarter you are, the higher IQ you are, the quicker and the more easily you're going to learn a martial arts. Laura Loomer is the kind of character where, in order to measure the level of respect, I need to come up with some pretty vile analogies to get precise. I may have more respect to a public defecator. I don't know much about Laura Loomer. I just know that she looks like an alien. She freaks me out. I vaguely remember her having controversial, like, racist, dumb fucking opinions, and like, you know, getting canceled for them or whatever. But the vibe I get, right, with very little knowledge of who she actually is, the vibe that I tend to get is that she's just someone looking for attention. Is there anything negative that G Factor is associated with? Mental stability, especially when it comes with neurotic tendency. And also the ability to pull back from mental health issues, right? So people that are really intelligent that get depressed can convince themselves that their depression is justified, right? So like therapy doesn't really work on them. Like, cognitive behavioral therapy can work if they're committed to changing, right? In the sense that like they can train themselves and learn a task and kind of rethink. But even then, like intelligent people, when they're having mental health issues, they can convince themselves easier. They're smart enough to convince themselves of what it is that they innately already want, which is to be depressed. Whereas like dumb people, you can be like, did you ever think of it this way? And they're like, fuck, I never thought of it that way, right? Like, you can change a dumb person's thinking and pull them out of depression. Like, you can pull them out of issues like that. So that's one thing that's like negatively associated with G Factor. Speaking of, I'm going back to solving my puzzle box. What? Oh, like IQ and G Factor. I mean, I guess. I don't know that really does much. Boom, boom, boom. All right. No, I got a puzzle box for Christmas. Yeah, hell yeah. We're about to hop in the Discord in like 1 minute, presumably. But we'll see. I'm excited for this. This should be fun. I think we figured out the twist. It looks like the twist, and the reason we all have to be there, is that we're the judges for the opposition. The other debate, it looks like me and Nonfon are going to judge Liberal Cluck and Lactoid, which would be interesting. Many psychological maladaptive behaviors are associated with high IQ. Could it be because evolutionarily more novel traits are correlated to higher intelligence? Yeah, so I mean, like, so part of that goes away once you start looking at the fact that men are at the high IQ spectrum overwhelmingly compared to women. And because of whereas men are also at the low end of the spectrum, right? Like so it's variance hypothesis, right? And so part of the reason I think that like maladaptive and psychological problems, are more likely in high IQ people is because it's correlated to, experimentation, evolutionarily speaking, and novel traits, right? But also it's because these are more often than not happening with the Y chromosome, right? So you have less variance in the genetics. So when a novel thing pops up on the male, if it's not a part of like the X chromosome, it doesn't get canceled out in a very, very basic way of speaking. And so because there's more genetic variance in males, there are a lot more people at the very high end of IQ. And so like there's a little bit of a Venn diagram here happening where like super high IQ may be novel genetic traits, but also it may just be men in general have more like kind of novel traits. And those are the people that historically we would remember of, like those people at the 140, 150, 160, like great figures of time that are super intelligent. So that's part of it. Part of it is just the ability to adapt, right? Like it's environmental. Like if you're smarter than everybody, it becomes hard to relate with other people. And so you often isolate, you have difficulty in social situations. It's like if you're 115 IQ, yeah, you hang out with other people and like you're the smart guy and you're fun. If you're like 140 or above IQ, you have a really, really hard time relating, speaking with, dealing with normal people. Because other people are frustrating and you don't have the same interests that they have. And like you kind of don't speak the same language and they identify you as the outsider because you're not really one of them because of these reasons. And humans tend to look at outsiders as potential threats. And so you can be seen as a potential threat, a potential issue, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you get into a workplace environment and you're super smart. All of a sudden your boss is like, I got to keep an eye on that guy. That guy's gunning for my job, but you're just trying to work like everybody else. You just happen to be smarter than your boss. Things like that. So there's a lot of reasons, and I don't think it like comes down to one, but and then there's probably some shit I'm missing. I don't know. Okay, well, fucking send me. Hold on, is his Discord link on his thing? Like, I'm in way too many Discords. People are like, just hop in the Discord. Like, bitch, which one? Oh, here we go. Do I have to, like, say something to the rules? I guess, yeah, sure. No hate speech. No abuse or threats or insults if you're moderating things. No pedophiles. Or encouraging any of this shit above. Cool, got it. Holy fuck, where do I go? Dude, his Discord is way too big. There we go, I guess I'll hop in here. And he'll drag me into another room or something, I don't know, we'll see. What's up? Oh. Secret E-Girl Room? That's the name of this channel?
I said the same thing.
What the fuck? I clicked join voice and it kicked me out. Oops. Should probably move this away. Here we go. Yo, the puzzle box has got you twisted, huh? Oh my god. Drag me back into the secret e-girl room. Let me make sure my camera works. Okay, it works. There we go. I like clicked the prompt. And it was like no one is in the voice chat. And then when I clicked it, it took me back to the other channel. Can you guys hear me?
Are y'all excited, boys?
Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, so
All
excited.
right, cool.
Good.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a fun time.
I'm excited for fun times as well. This has been a little bit more of a bitch to organize than I thought it would be. Good thing.
Now you know why I don't fucking do panels. I've done like two of them, and I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah, it's easy enough to schedule, or like maybe one panel a week. It's a whole different animal. I don't know how Wick does a panel every day. Like that shit. This is never gonna be me, folks. If y'all ever expect it to be me, just go ahead and throw that, absolve yourself of that notion.
All the cancellations and craziness, I could never.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit worried with this tournament format. I think season way I can handle that differently, but we'll see how this tournament thing goes. But on that note, I am excited. Here, let me switch my thing over. Did we switch over? Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen. As I do my best Paul Heyman impression, I'm here to tell y'all about the exciting debate championship series that we're having today. We have Fabian Liberty versus Nonfon 420 and Lactoid TV versus Liberal Cluck. We're going to have special rules for each round of this tournament that's going to change depending on the round. I have a fun twist for this first round. Nobody figured it out until I think maybe just 10 seconds ago. And guess what? We're going to have the format is be 2 judges and 1 crowd vote. And that's going to determine that at the end of this, what's going to happen is I made sure, and I'm going to show y'all now on screen the bracket. When we set this up, let me find that clip. We have all this ready. Of course, we're not ready now. The bracket is going to be, if y'all want to look at my Twitch stream, right here. And if you'll notice, I am made sure to have all the competitors on the opening tonight from different sides of the bracket. So none of them have to worry about this next portion affecting them. And that's going to be that, guess what? The other team is the judges for the first match and the second match. Woo, big surprise if you didn't figure that one out. Then, I don't have too much high hopes for this y'all's debate skills. That's got to be what it is. So, second big thing about this is at the end of the debate, y'all are going to, the people on the other team that's not debating, at the end of the first debate, y'all are going to PM me the messages. Don't tell anybody what you said, who you voted for. You're going to tell me because we're going to announce the winners at the end of the show. Now, everybody's going to know who the crowd voted for. So, we're going to build some suspense. It's exciting. Opening statements, I know it's asked on length. Keep it between like 5 and 7 minutes. Some of y'all can go long, whatever. We have about an hour. Closing statements, y'all will have about the same amount of time, so keep that in mind. Y'all have like 10 minutes, so it's about 15 to 20 minutes set time that y'all won't be able to debate. That's for during the debate. It's going to be kind of free form. Let y'all go back and forth. Try to let the other person speak. Y'all can interrupt. However, I will moderate and ask some questions if I think it's fucking boring or we need to change something going forward. Don't be surprised if I'm like, God damn, this is terrible. And I ask some kind of wild out of the blue questions. Chat, y'all are also encouraged to send questions in. That's good as well. Here's something to factor in. This round, I did this a certain way with the judges being y'all because y'all are all kind of debate broy. However, other rounds, y'all may want to tailor your strategies. I mentioned this to a couple of y'all in the background. This tournament doesn't seem like I have very many WWE type people. However, sometimes you're going to want to have crowd control and you're going to want to have like roast stills or make the other person unlikable. These are all valid strategies because the goal is to win. This isn't a formal debate. This is an adaptability debate because what do I do in real life? I do sales, and the number one trait you can have in sales is adaptability, and we call that bullshit. So we're going to go from there. You know, you can dunk on them with actual shit. That's also a strategy. You have to play your strengths. Like I said in this one, y'all are all debate broy, so y'all can probably sit here and take yourselves away from the issue at hand and decide who y'all think debated better going forward. Does a team want to go first?
It doesn't matter. I'm ready if Lactoid is.
I gotta pee, and then I'll be ready.
Okay. How about y'all two? Non-Fon, Havian, are y'all ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready whenever.
Does anybody want to go first? No. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do Fabian and Nonfon, y'all are tails. Liberal Cluck and Lactoid, y'all are heads. I will
Let me
just
know what it is.
Yeah, go for it. I'll just share this bullshit screen real quick, and we'll just decide what who's gonna win. Okay, I don't remember which side I said was which, so y'all just tell me who I said that at the beginning. Boom, flip. It's tails. Who's going first?
I don't remember. I
Lucas
wasn't
is-
paying attention.
I don't remember. I honestly don't.
I was pulling up the stream in case I had to go, in case I was going second. So
We
that I
can
was
go
ready
first.
to
It's
watch
fine.
the
We'll go
stream.
first. Me and Mike will
Liberal
go
Cluck and
first.
Liberal going first.
Yeah.
It was a test. Y'all all failed. Also, at the end of the tournament, there will be some kind of prize. I don't know exactly what that's going to be yet. I'll probably announce that the day
Is it
of.
a cow? Can we have one of your cows?
No, you cannot have one of my cows.
Damn.
Maybe I'll butcher one that I name after y'all. Wouldn't that be something? I don't know. I'll send you a package of the meat with a photo of your cow. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, that would make me buy more beef if they did put the photos on the cows. So FEMA, don't do that. That's a good idea. But yes, also this is basically a seeding tournament, proof of concept. Going forward, any other thing while we're waiting, we're going to be doing a seasonal format. There's going to be a bigger prize at the end of the seasons. This tournament's more proof of concept. I want to get run through all the way one time.
Yeah, no, it seems pretty straightforward, right? I mean, we sit, we watch, we judge, we figure out who we thought did better, and then we go, and then we have 5 to 7 minute opening statements, and same for the closing, and hash out the topic. I'm excited to see what I don't even know what the topic is for you guys. I'm excited to see what that is. Oh, hold on one sec.
Hold on. Let me put up the start.
I think that the New York criminal trial is the least consequential of all of the indictments that he has. I don't really know too much about the Georgia trial, so that one could have been less consequential, or at least not as strong. But I still think that the evidence is there to prove that he did the thing that they were accusing him of. And Lactoid seemed to be under the impression on our last debate that the Hunter Biden trial wasn't political because Hunter Biden actually did the thing that they were accusing them of. But he doesn't think that Trump did the thing that they were accusing him of in New York. And that's basically what I want to debate him about. Is did Trump do it? Did he falsify these business documents?
Okay, fantastic. Do you want to go ahead and open up with the? Was that your opening? Is that?
Yeah, that was my opening.
All right. Lactoid.
Yeah. So
that was his whole opening.
When we agreed to this, and I just want to point this out, when we agreed to this debate, one of the things that I asked, I think is an absolute necessity, is for somebody, whoever is going to argue the pro on this topic, whether or not Trump should have been convicted, should at the very least be able to describe exactly what Trump did, like what was the actual mechanical thing like that he did that was criminal, and what should he have done differently to avoid the charges. I was hoping to get some of that during the opening, but because my opening sort of,
I can tell you right now if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So what Trump specifically did was he signed off on checks that that claimed that.
What is this opening?
It's called the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels was a retainer fee for Cohen when it was paying him back for the hush money payments. And what that ended up doing is it led to invoices and ledgers being created because of those checks, and that also had the same false information. So you ended up with 34 of these falsified checks, falsified ledgers, falsified invoices, which are business documents. And in the state of New York, you can't put false information on business documents. That's a crime.
And do you know the thing that turned it from a alleged misdemeanor to a felony?
Yes, there was actually 3 possibilities that Alvin Bragg came up with. 4, but the judge threw one out. So let me find that real quick. Tax fraud, FECA violation, which is the federal election violation, and New York election law, which was the big one that Alvin Bragg really harped on. Said that it was essential to his. It was the most essential one to his case. And the
All
law
right.
specifically is 17-152.
Okay, fantastic. Lactoid.
All
Go ahead and
right.
open it up
So
now, yeah.
Oh, I do
Yeah.
apologize for not getting this to you sooner. I really should have. That's my bad.
Yeah, that's fine. Move on. Lactoid, you want to do your opening now? Are you ready, prepared for
yeah,
that?
no, that's good. I'd like to get the opening. There's some facts of what was said just now that are correct, and some that aren't, and also some that require some critical context. So the actual convictions, 34 felony counts that Trump was convicted of, is falsification of business records, which is normally a misdemeanor, just to be clear. That was well past the statute of limitations. But you can turn it into a felony, and which has a longer statute of limitations, if it's done to commit some other crime, right? So if you falsify business records without the intention of doing some other crime, like falsifying in order to do some other crime, like the other crime being the end goal, right? If you don't do that, then it's just a misdemeanor. And there's no way that Bragg could have gone after Donald Trump for those for 34 misdemeanors, because the statute of limitations had been long gone. So the theory was, well, actually, we're going to extend the statute of limitations by alleging that they're felonies. That way we can charge them. And the theory behind charging them as felonies was, well, the law allows us to charge them as felonies if they're done with the intention of committing some other crime. Now, what other crime was Donald Trump allegedly doing by sending hush money? Well, there's, as was mentioned, there's 3 theories, 2 of which I have the exact same response for, but one is violation of FICA, as was just mentioned, specifically federal campaign finance law, New York election law, 2016 election interference, and tax fraud. And when asked to specify which exact crime that Trump actually falsified business records in order to commit, Bragg said he didn't have to specify, and the judge agreed that you didn't actually have to specify which of the 3 crimes, alleged crimes, that Donald Trump falsified
Is
the
the
business
left
records.
not aware of this shit?
My allegation here is that all 3 of these utterly fail, and the reasons are pretty straightforward. So when Trump made the payments to Cohen, they were for legal expenses. Now, I'll tell you, legal expenses is a wide variety of things. Reimbursing somebody for legal expenses can be not only for legal defense work, for the actual hourly rate, but it could also be for expenditures for a mediator, expenditures for some other third party, like a transcript, in order to order like a court transcript. There's all sorts of things that can be fall under legal services, and it's not abnormal for attorneys to front certain bills first. And so there's a couple assumptions we have to make here. We have to make the assumption that Donald Trump knew exactly what these payments for legal services were. Now, if he didn't know, then you obviously can't argue that he had the intent of falsifying this to commit further crimes. So the only, and by the way, it's unclear exactly if he knew for sure, but we have to obviously roll with the assumption that he did, and the jury obviously thought so. So if we're rolling with the assumption that he did, it means that Donald Trump knew exactly what these bills were for, and he intentionally gave Cohen money to pay for the hush money payments that were made to Stormy Daniels. The reason why it's not tax fraud, or the reason why the business, transaction falsification wasn't done with the intent of tax fraud, is because he wound up paying more in taxes because of this. When you make payments to your lawyer, that income is
Yeah.
taxable, and so if he just simply made it by himself, wouldn't be taxable. The idea that he did this with the intent to commit tax fraud just simply makes no sense and is incredible. When it comes to the federal finance violation and the New York election law, it's my allegation that the hush money payments were not done with the primary intent, the but-for intent as required by FICA standards, in order to influence the election, the 2016 election. What's my evidence for this? Well, it turns out that Michael Cohen had been trying to silence Stormy Daniels for several years prior to 2016. In fact, in May of 2011, Donald Trump said that he wasn't going to run for president, so he stopped running for president. And then later that year in October, Michael Cohen used his influence to shut down a story from Stormy Daniels that was going to be published in a magazine called The Dirty, meaning that the efforts to stop Stormy Daniels from talking about their affair happened significant period of time prior to the 2016 election and prior to Donald Trump even announcing his candidacy. Why is Donald Trump interested in stopping somebody talking about their extramarital affair? Maybe because he's married and he doesn't want his wife finding out about the fact that he had an extramarital affair with Stormy Daniels, or it could affect his business prospects. There's plenty of reasons why somebody might not want to have their extramarital, not intending to shut up Stormy Daniels with hush money, which is perfectly legal, by the way, to shut up Stormy Daniels with hush money in order to influence the election. It most likely was done for a different reason, given the fact that he'd been doing it for years prior. The but-for reasoning is essential for federal finance violations, because again, we have plenty of things you can do that are not in violation but could still help you run. For example, when Hillary Clinton was running for office in New York, she had to move to New York. So she bought a house in New York. She did not report this, obviously, as a federal finance donation, because you can't do that, and it'd be ridiculous if you were forced to do that, even though technically it's somewhat related to your campaign. There needs to be a but-for cause established. But for you running for president, would you have tried to silence Stormy Daniels? Well, we already know that Donald Trump was trying to silence Stormy Daniels before he was ever running. So obviously, the but-for fails. In order for Donald Trump to not be charged with these 34 felonies, what really the prosecutor is alleging is that Donald Trump should have used federal campaign money to pay off Stormy Daniels and reported it. That is what you have to believe as a jury to believe Alvin Bragg's case, which is that, yes, Donald Trump should have used campaign finance money, which is a ridiculous proposition for all the reasons I've said before. Both the judge, the jury, and the prosecution were biased for reasons we'll get into.
All right, fantastic. With 15 seconds to spare, we now have a record for longest opening here that I'm sure Scott's going to break in the next round. All right, now I guess we're open. Points of contention. Oh, one last thing.
Yes.
The judges, y'all, they're still here. They're listening, I'm sure, because they're very wise judges that would never just turn off their cameras and run away.
I'm here.
Yeah, I know y'all. I'm just giving y'all some shit. If y'all have questions, I just want to stress that they're able to ask them. They just need to let me know, and then I will have them ask them themselves, and y'all can have exchange with them during this time period. Go ahead, Clark. What?
So your opening statement leads me to believe that you think that the hush money payments themselves is what Donald Trump is on the hook for.
No, so. Well, technically, yes, because in order to establish the felonies, the business falsification needs to be in furtherance of a different crime.
Yeah. So the question is, why did he falsify the documents? Not why did he pay the hush money?
So again,
why would he put that Michael Cohen that money was going to Michael Cohen for legal retainers when it was for hush money?
I'm not exactly just be legal expenses. I'm not exactly sure if that is a misrepresentation. Again, there's plenty of reasons why you might pay your lawyer, hey, legal services, kind of a general broad catch-all. But if we're rolling with the assumption that he intentionally mislabeled this as legal expenses instead of, hush money, the answer is very simple, which is that he didn't want to get caught having an extramarital affair.
Okay. So your assumption is that Melania is like going through his business records to look for any type of hush money. Like, why would he put himself at legal jeopardy in order to hide the fact that he's having an extramarital affair?
I think it's probably pretty clear that he didn't think that he would be in legal jeopardy, because it's not illegal to pay hush money to cover up an affair. And not only could Melania have gone through his personal records or his business records, but also Stormy Daniels, who, again, going back many years, at least until 2011, had already demonstrated a habit of trying to leak this for money. And so she gets a check saying hush money on it. You think that that's not going to help her in discrediting Donald Trump?
Well, if she was paid off, then she wouldn't be able to legally say anything
Yeah, but she did.
about the affair.
Well, hold on. She got in trouble because she broke the NDA. She was under an NDA that she broke. I mean, this person was a loose cannon. She just ignored NDAs.
Yeah, that would be possible. But the idea that like Donald Trump is falsifying his checks in order to stop Melania Trump, somebody that nobody has any proof of her going through any of this stuff, is kind of really reaching, in my opinion. Especially since Michael Cohen went on the stand and said that this was because of the election. He testified to that.
No, I understand. So Michael Cohen and Donald Trump had at that point had an incredibly tumultuous relationship. But the answer, and this is the answer that Michael Cohen never gave, if this was done in order to directly influence the election, why was Michael Cohen silencing Stormy Daniels' stories as early as 2011?
It's possible that they had a different reason for trying to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011, but the outlook on the election, especially after the Access Hollywood tapes came out, and they were freaking out about that. The idea that the election wasn't a part of the reason why they falsified these documents is just kind of ridiculous.
It's got to be more than just a reason. It has to be a but for, which means that if Donald Trump was not running, would Donald Trump have had Michael Cohen try to silence that story? And the history would seem to demonstrate is even when he wasn't running for president, he had Michael Cohen try to silence that story because, again, he doesn't want his wife finding out. It makes perfect sense. You don't want your wife finding out. You don't want your business associates finding out. Again, assuming that this actually was intentionally mislabeled, it's very possible that Michael Cohen just said, "Hey, here's the bill," or perhaps he didn't even issue the payments themselves. He didn't organize the payments themselves.
He did organize them. He did organize
testified. He testified. So
no, well, he's on tape talking to Trump about it.
So, what specifically does he say on tape? Because he doesn't specifically talk about those, like all 34 transactions. There's no way.
Well, he's talking about how he's going to create the shell company in order to pay the money to
right.
Yeah.
So so I've heard that phone call. There is a phone call. It's unclear what the time proximity is between this phone call and when the checks were made. But regardless, Michael Cohen's way of organizing this payment to Stormy Daniels is actually somewhat irrelevant to the charges themselves. If you want to go after Michael Cohen for creating shell companies, maybe in violation of certain tax codes, you can. Nothing on those tapes indicates that Donald Trump directed this to happen. Nothing indicates that Donald Trump knew it was illegal or that there was some kind of issue with it. Remember, Donald Trump is not a lawyer. Michael Cohen is. If your lawyer is telling you this is how I'm going to organize the payment, a layperson, it's perfectly rational for them to say, okay, that makes sense.
So so you do agree that Trump knows that Michael Cohen had taken out a mortgage on his house in order to pay Stormy Daniels off, and that he was signing over checks to Michael Cohen in order to make him whole. This was a quote from Trump: "Make him whole." That was a repayment to him for Stormy Daniels and not a retainer. You agree that he knows all that, right? At least.
No, hold on. When you're saying it's a little bit of a loaded term. When you say it's not a retainer, again, I think it's perfectly reasonable and doesn't necessarily indicate malintent to pay somebody for legal services, and that legal services covers things like legal bills, but also, hush money, quote unquote, NDA settlements. This is perfectly it's not irrational. Did Donald Trump have an idea that he was paying out money to have Stormy Daniels get hush money so she wouldn't talk about it? Yeah, I think so.
What I'm asking is specifically the checks that he signed. I think what was it, 9 checks that he signed that this was going to Michael Cohen for legal purposes, not for to pay him back for hush money, but for legal purposes. I'm pretty sure it
Keep in mind,
was for retainer.
NDA settlements, like hush money, as we say it, that's a legal
Uh-huh.
purpose, right? You're
Okay.
paying somebody a legal settlement. You're saying, hey, I'm going to pay you this. In exchange, you're not going to talk about this. The only question here is, was this done? Like, first of all, was it a falsification, which I'm not even convinced about that. But rolling with the assumption that even it is falsification, then you have to prove that it was done in the furtherance of a separate crime, which I don't think you get to prove that, given that, again, he paid more in taxes. Crazy that they could that could even be rationally construed as a intent, but also that he had been trying to silence Stormy Daniels' this story since way before he was even running for president, because he's married and he has business properties. Do you think Hillary Clinton, does Hillary Clinton get to use campaign finance money to buy houses in New York? Should she be required to do that?
No.
Just because she might run in New York.
Let me jump in here. I got a question from the peanut gallery, right? And their question is the lactoid here. So, what exactly do you think was wrong since the jury convicted him on 34 counts and all this whatnot? Where exactly did they go wrong in this case? Was it the judge's instructions? Was it the jury's decision? What specifically was wrong? I know you talked about the but-for, but the chat wants you to clarify how if there's no but-for, how the jury and the judge could come to this conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, so there is, I think, bias at every level here during this trial, right? So Alvin Bragg, he, as part of his election campaign, literally ran on getting Trump, right? He specified that. The judge had donated money to an anti-Trump cause prior to this, for which he was investigated. And the jury is from a pool of overwhelmingly anti-Trump voters. Trump is an incredibly divisive person, obviously. He has a history of being controversial and being incredibly disliked, especially among urban New Yorkers. And so, yeah, I think it's very possible that the jury just looked at all the evidence and decided, you know what, I'm going to ignore all this, history. And part of the issue too is, Trump is insisting that he never slept with Stormy Daniels, right? I think a big part of this is probably, again, because he doesn't want his wife to find out. Is he going to be as candid about whether or not he actually committed these crimes as I am? I don't think so. I don't know. He's probably going to be more hesitant to testify to yeah, I slept with her and paid her hush money. So what? What's illegal about that? Because he's kind of stuck in a position where he can't say that. But the question is not whether or not he can say that. The question is whether or not he committed 34 felonies that are only felonies because, hey, we couldn't get them on the misdemeanor, which I think is already a dubious proposition at best. And then we're going to turn them into felonies because we're going to allege that he committed a different crime, that he falsified with the intention of committing a different crime. And what's that? What's the crime? He should have used campaign finance. He should have reported that as a donation when he gave Stormy Daniels hush money. That's what they're arguing. They are saying that.
I think you've got. Did you read the election law that they're accusing him of violating?
I mean, not today, but I have read it. Yes, I did a deep dive into this back when I had a prior debate about this. I know one thing.
Trust me, bro. Is his source.
Just trust me, bro. I know one thing. I know one thing for a fact. Like the allegation of Bragg, in order to not have been charged with the felonies, at least according to two of the theories, was that Donald Trump should have logged the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels as campaign expenses. He should have made that public. That's what Alvin Bragg was saying that he should have done in order to avoid the felonies. That's ridiculous.
Can I read these laws out real quick? I mean, I'm a layman.
Feel free to rebuttal.
Yeah, Lactoid's a lawyer, so maybe he knows something about this. I don't, but it says a person is. This is the I think they call it the object crime. It's the overall crime, the falsifying of the business records. A person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree, and when his attempts to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime and aid or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. So, this isn't even I don't know. Maybe there's some reading in the word intent that means that it has to be a but-for, but that's not the way I read that law. It just says that if you falsify
you're confused. I can clarify right now. When you're saying so, the intent is specifically to commit the other crime. The other crime, the allegation is campaign finance crime. And what makes campaign finance crime a crime, according to FICA standards, is if you're, but for you running, this expense would have never been logged. So,
Well,
like for
this law says it includes the intent. It doesn't say that you have to have that as the sole intent.
no, you have to commit the falsification of business records if you do the falsification of business records with the intent of doing another crime.
It includes the intent to so.
No, it has to be. You have to do it with the intent.
With his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime. So even if like you're falsifying these business records and this other crime that you're going to be using these falsified business records isn't the sole reason why you're falsifying these business records, this still can count.
No. But in order for that other thing to be a crime, according to FICA standards, the falsification or the violation of campaign finance, this is a but-for standard. So you're mixing up.
We're not talking about FICA. We're talking about the New York statute
because
that it was indicted under.
Look here. In order for this to even be a crime, the federal campaign finance laws, in order for that to even be a crime, you have to establish the but-for. Okay, you have to report it if you only would have paid for this, or you would have not paid for this, but for you running, right? And if you are running, and because you are running, you're paying for this, and you don't report it as a donation, then you run afoul of federal finance laws. Okay, have we established that yet?
We have not established. I'm not even talking about the federal laws.
Oh, I got.
Then hold on. Wait. If you're not even talking about the federal laws, then when it says falsifies the business records to commit another crime with the intent of committing another crime, what is that other crime?
The New York election laws.
The New York election law, specifically interference in the 2016 election.
17-152.
Well, let me ask this. Hold on. This is actually this is from the chat, one of the chatters. Then I have another question. So this one is going to be first. We'll go with this one's from iCal Rich, right? If Trump's team considered ceasing payments after the election, doesn't that satisfy the but-for standard?
Say it one more time.
If Trump's team considers ceasing payments after the election, doesn't that satisfy the but-for standard?
If Trump's team considers ceasing payments after the election.
Yes. Wouldn't that satisfy the but-for standard?
Not necessarily. It would depend if other things were happening prior to this, such as Stormy Daniels violating her NDA.
What? All right. So perfect. That leaves it. I'm gonna let you answer this as well, Liberal Collect. That question, but also I have a second question. This is from I think Fabian's chat here. If you knew that Trump was falsely convicted by a biased jury, what evidence would convince you to call Trump innocent? I think this ties to the first question for you. Like, what do you, would you consider that the but-for satisfactory? And then what, in the second question as well.
Regardless of whether the jury biases, the fact that he signed those checks and that led to the falsifying of false business records to be maintained by the Trump organization, and he signed those checks, there would have to be some sort of proof that the election wasn't a part of the reason why he signed those checks for me to think maybe he might be innocent. And I would have to just look into the other two underlying crimes that Alvin Bragg came up with to see if that was if there's anything to that. And then I would say that he's innocent of the felony, but he's still definitely guilty of the misdemeanor.
If he's innocent, if he's innocent of the felony, you can't go.
The statute of limitations had come up on that, but I don't even you would have to. There'd have to be some kind of proof that the election wasn't his concern when he wasn't concerned about the election when he was signing when he was falsifying those checks.
So let me ask you a question. In 2011, in May he dropped out, and then in October of 2011, Cohen silenced Stormy Daniels' story by threatening to sue the magazine The Dirty. Why did Trump and Michael Cohen try to silence Stormy Daniels in October of 2011?
There's probably plenty of reasons why he tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011. What I'm saying is that when he tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2015, the election was a part of the reason.
Hold on. So you're saying that there are reasons for why they tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011.
Yes.
Were those reasons still present prior to the 2016 election?
Probably, yeah. It could be.
Yes.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
It's definitely possible.
Sure. What evidence do you have that all of a sudden the behavior of Donald Trump would have changed between 2011 and 2015-16, absent the election? Do you have any kind of basis to say that Donald Trump would have acted differently than he had been acting before?
I don't know. Would he have falsified records back then? Possibly, yeah.
So we don't.
Okay, but the law.
So we don't know that it was specifically to violate finance law, to federal election campaign
none of
finance
these
law.
laws. Hold on. None of these laws say that there can't be other reasons.
When you say it can't be other reasons, what are you talking about?
Like you're saying, well, because he had other reasons where he could have done his actions, then the election doesn't have anything to do with it.
You mean like reasonable doubt?
So this is why the but-for standard is so important. If I take a shower
Reasonable doubt that
and then
that
I
thing
go
didn't
to like
exist because of
campaign,
that?
or like should I be forced to log my water bill as a campaign expense? No, because there's all sorts of reasons why I shower. Like, and I'm going to shower regardless of whether or not I'm running. So I can't say, but for the election, I wouldn't shower. The question here is, if Donald Trump wasn't running for president, would he still have paid off Stormy Daniels? And the only evidence we have of Donald Trump potentially doing this would be that he has done it in the past when he wasn't running for president. There is a history here of him trying to stop Stormy Daniels from coming out with this story. And so if there's no reason, there's no change in circumstances here in terms of other considerations, why in 2011, between 2011 and 2015-16, I think it's pretty clear that the burden of proof, because again, it's criminal, you got to prove that he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I think that the proof here is incredibly insufficient. It's very likely, it's very probable, in fact, that even if Donald Trump wasn't running for president, he still would have had Michael Cohen try to silence the story in 2015 and 16.
Him having Michael Cohen try to silence the story in 2015, 2016 isn't the crime here. Him falsifying the checks is the crime.
It only becomes okay. Do you agree that the other crime, like when it's saying like intend to commit another crime, that is a alleged violation of federal campaign finance?
No, it's the New York State.
Well, there's three theories, so I'm knocking them down one by one. Okay. We're specifically talking about the federal
let's
one.
start with the one that Bragg said was his most important one, which is the New York State one.
Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about the New York State one.
Yes.
When he's saying influence the 2016 election.
So wait, hold on. I can read the law.
How is he saying? How is he saying that's influencing the 2016 election?
I'll read the law. It says conspiracy to promote or prevent an election. Any two or more persons who conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means, such as falsifying business records, and which conspiracy is acted upon by one or more parties thereto, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. That is what the state law that Alvin Bragg's hinged a lot of his argument on says.
Yeah,
I added the part about the business records just in case you didn't get that.
So I understand you put that in there, but again, the argument fits with both. The underlying allegation is the same between the federal campaign finance allegation and the violation of New York State campaign, like election laws. The allegation is that this was done with the intention of influencing the presidential election campaign. Mm-hmm. What is your evidence of this? Because he was doing this before he ran for president. Isn't it possible that he would have been doing this entirely independently of the fact that he was running for president, considering that's what he did in 2011?
It's possible he could have committed crimes even though he wasn't running off for president. Yes.
But it wouldn't, hold on. Okay. But it wouldn't be a crime because you agree paying hush money is not a crime.
It's not
right?
paying hush money. It's falsifying the documents.
No. I know. But just again, walk with me. Paying hush money is not a crime. We would agree?
No.
Okay, so if Donald Trump pays hush money to Stormy Daniels, let's say he's alleged to do so in 2011, you would agree no crime has been committed, right? Just by doing that. Okay, so if he's silencing the story in 2011, and then he's doing the same thing in 2015 and 16, how could you allege that he's doing that because of some interest in the election if he's doing that before he even ran?
Well, for one, it's the falsifying of the business records that's the issue. The thing he was indicted on is not paying Stormy Daniels hush money.
Wait, please. Let's just for the sake of the argument, even though I'm not conceding this, let's just assume that he falsified the business records. Let's just assume it's obvious. Yes, he falsified when he wrote legal expenses. He was like, I know I should be categorizing this as something else, but I'm not. Let's just say that's the case. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, in order to make it a felony, to make it even chargeable now at this point, you agree it would have to be done for the commission of a different crime, right?
which is 17
Eh,
dash
Yeah. Yes.
152,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
read.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That's the one that turns the misdemeanor into a felony.
Yes.
And so that second crime would be, with the intent to commit the second crime. That's important. And so the intent here is to unlawfully influence the 2016 election. How can you prove that he was trying to influence the 2016 election with this decision to pay hush money if he'd been already trying to silence Stormy Daniels since 2011? It seems like his interest in silencing Stormy Daniels is independent from the fact that he was running for president in 2016, because he's been trying to silence her since 2011.
His interest in silencing Stormy Daniels and falsifying the business records. Like that's the thing that we're on here.
Smash that like button,
Includes
boys.
his 2016 election, which was testified to in court.
Do you think it's possible? Give me, please. Do you think it's possible that Donald Trump, when he was making the payments, the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels,
Mhm.
that the purpose of this, much like the purpose was in 2011 to try to silence Stormy Daniels, was to protect Donald Trump's reputation, wholly independent of the fact that he was a presidential candidate?
Not in 2016, no. In 2000,
What is your evidence of this?
I think because he was running for president, and because
But he wasn't in 2011.
The idea that his actions were not influenced by that is
Let me hold on. Let me
ridiculous.
just.
They weren't influenced by that in 2011.
Hold on. I want to ask a question here, just to clarify, because I'm just a little confused. So this took place, from what I understand, right, is 2011. Is that what y'all are saying? The original sleeping with hush money stuff. Is that correct?
So 2006, I think, is when the
Okay,
thing
2006
actually happened.
So okay, and then the 2011 was when this was what date exactly? What was that?
It was in May of 2011 that Donald Trump said he was stepping down. He wasn't going to run anymore. I think it was May. It may have been March. Started with
2011.
2011, and then it was October of 2011 that quote Daniel's agent Gina Rodriguez leaked the story to the gossip blog The Dirty in October, and then the post was taken down following threatening letters from Trump's lawyers, aka Michael Cohen.
So just for clarification, between 2006 and 2011, was there money paid? Is that the
No.
So he smashed her 2006. He paid her at some point between then and 2011.
No.
That
he could have, but I don't know. So
You don't know.
2006 happened. He smashed. Then in 2011, the story's going to get leaked to a gossip blog, and then Trump directs his lawyers. And by the way, this is after he is no longer running for president in 2011.
So
and then he directs his attorney, Michael Cohen, his lawyers, to basically go after The Dirty and stop them from publishing the story.
Can I
yes,
step
yeah,
in?
but I'm about to ask you a quick question.
Oh,
And
me?
either one,
Yeah.
yeah, it's about to go to you. Just because I'm trying to clarify for something.
All right,
for the audience.
I'm listening.
So
I'm just going to
I
use the
guess
bathroom real quick.
my question is, right? So if you agree to those facts, and you can dispute them whenever it comes to you, or if it seems to be like if he was sleeping with someone in 2006, and between then and 2011 there was an NDA assigned or something along those lines, and possibly payments made or whatever, and then she's going to leak it. Would you disagree? Do you think that he's worried about this in 2006 because he thinks he's going to run for president then, or like all of this was like, what's your argument? That are you arguing that he was planning for presidential run since 2006 and he didn't want to hide this, or like what? I just to clarify.
I don't think that's irrelevant, because the election it seems pretty obvious, and by the testimony, and the jury agreed, that he was worried about the election when he made these decisions. When he did these things, the election was at least a factor. Now, his wife, his reputation, his businesses could have also been factors, and they were still factors back then. I do have a question for Lactoid. Did he, in 2011, falsify business records in order to cover up the Stormy Daniels story?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so there's your evidence that he made a different action, which was falsifying the business records, which is what he's actually was indicted for in 2016 when he was running for president. The only thing that changed is that he's running for president, and he didn't do that in 2011. That's why it's important for me to keep you focused on the fact that he falsified business records, because that's what he's actually being indicted for, and not the fact that he made hush money payments because that's not what he's being indicted for.
I'm having difficulty because I thought I made this clear. I understand that he was charged with falsification of business records. You don't have to keep saying it. I understand. Yes, 34 felonies, all falsification of business records that were felonies. The question is, what turns it from a misdemeanor, which can't be charged, to a felony? Well, the allegation is that what turns it into a felony is that it's done specifically to like with the intent. Like that means that Donald Trump like actually had the intent to commit a different crime.
Yes,
and so did he have when he was doing this? Did
he intended to promote his presidential campaign by falsifying business records.
I know you're saying that he intended to promote his campaign. How did he intend to use this to promote his campaign?
By having an extra layer to cover up the fact that he made hush money payments to a porn star.
How does that promote his campaign?
Because the story doesn't get out and it's harder to track down because it looks like he's paying Michael Cohen a lawyer's fees instead of hush money payments.
So hold on. How is this done specifically to promote his campaign? Are you saying that like, hey, like I don't want to admit that I'm a cheater, and like not admitting you're cheating, you're doing this to promote your campaign?
You're promoting a good character. Yes, absolutely. You're hiding something bad you did in order to get yourself elected.
Gotcha. And if you're hiding something bad that you did that you've been hiding since 2011, which you had no intention of running at that point.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with your point.
Yeah. If you're hiding something in 2011 when you're not running, right? Oh, you've obviously got this reason for hiding this, right? Does this like you're saying that the idea that he would do the exact same thing and he was doing the exact same thing in 2015? You're saying this is just again in a light. Wait. The exact same thing when it comes to whether or not it's political. The only question, leave aside the fact that he falsified business records for just a second.
That's the whole indictment.
I don't leave the whole indictment aside then for just a second.
But that's what we're talking about.
Yes. Leave it aside for just 1 second with me, please.
Okay.
I'm trying to establish here. Did he do this? Like, because the only question is, got to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, right? This is in the light most favorable to Trump. Is it possible in a light most favorable to Trump that he did this with the intention of, shutting up Stormy Daniels for personal reasons, like he did in 2011?
I think that he did it for personal reasons, including the election. No, I do not think it's. I think that.
Hold on, let me ask this. Could you
the election was a motivator here.
So let me ask you this then, because like that seems to be kind of like the lactose reasonable doubt thing. If you think it's just like one of things, like what percentage do you assign to that? And if so, why does that even matter? Because if it's like 50%, then I don't think that feels reasonable doubt. I mean, I could be wrong, but if it's like 100%, you think it was just the election? What do you a realistic one? What do you think?
I 100% think that the election was included in his reasoning. There could have been other reasons also on top of the election, but all you need for the
in 2011.
No, 2016.
Oh, okay.
All you need for 17-152 is for him to try and influence the election in this way, to promote himself to become president by committing a crime, which was falsifying the documents, which was he did in order to hide the fact that he was making hush money payments.
All right, real quick. So now before, you can respond. I'll give you like 1 minute here to respond. But then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna let if y'all have any questions, I'm gonna let the judges ask for a couple minutes. Then we're gonna go ahead and close it. So go ahead and respond real quick. And then let's see what the judges got here.
Yeah. So just to be clear, it's not the standard is not the idea of like, hey, he's doing the exact same that he did before, and he would have done the exact same that he did before. But here is some other new potential small percentage possibility that he's considering. That's not the standard. Again, the FICA standard is a but for.
We're not talking about FICA. We're talking about the state law.
Hey, let me finish. Jesus Christ. When it comes to the state law, again, it is not this happens to be one minor factor. Hillary Clinton, prior to this, bought a house in New York with the intention of running in that area, and that she had to live there in that area. Her campaign had started before she bought the house to run in this area. Is it possible that at some tiny percentage of the reason why she bought the house to run in this area has to do with the fact that she is running for office in that area?
Sure, but Hillary Clinton didn't commit a crime when buying that house.
No, but she would have ran afoul of federal campaign finance laws by buying the house, or not federal finance laws. She would have run afoul of this specific of the New York law if she had done so by violating by violating FICA laws, which she would have done if your standard is correct.
All right, fantastic. All right, judges, let's start with Fabian. You got any questions for our two of them?
Yeah, so, it seems to be that we're kind of running and looping in this debate on circles on this concept of but for. And so my question is to Lactoid as well as Liberal Clock, right? I think both of you would admit that the likelihood of this coming out in the election is probably at least in part of the motivation or at the very least a good reason to engage in the behavior that he did, correct? So that's the first part. Would you both agree to that? That it's a good reason at the very least to try and hide a potential scandal in the midst of a political election.
Sure.
Yeah, I 100% think that was a part of big part of the reason.
Well, you think it's the majority reason, right? So
yeah,
when we're discussing the concept of but for, right? The natural follow up here is if he wasn't electing, if he wasn't in the midst of an election, would this have occurred? And it seems like Lactoid is trying to establish that this would have occurred because he did it in the past. Do you, Liberal Cluck, do you believe that if Donald Trump wasn't running for election, but Stormy Daniels was about to expose again the fact that he was cheating on his wife, that he would have spent some form of hush money and then potentially just said, oh, these are legal fees so that his wife and media and journalists and all these other people don't find out about it and that there isn't a paper trail?
I don't think he would have falsified the documents because he didn't do that in the past. We don't have any reason to believe that he would have done it in 2016, but for the election.
Do we have the check that was signed in 2011?
Yes, we do.
And
it
says
2011. I don't know.
And it says this is Stormy Daniels' hush money, or does that check
I don't know, but it wouldn't be my responsibility to provide that because that's not a part of my argument.
I mean, if you were arguing the case, it would be, but fair enough. I'm just you saying that he didn't do that, so it is part of your argument because your argument states he did not do that in 2011. But you
said
don't
that
know.
He doesn't believe he did that. Like that was my opponent said.
I believe he said that he doesn't believe he falsified business records, which he also doesn't believe about 2016. So just I'm not trying to be an asshole, right? Like if
you can't use that argument.
Questions, yeah.
If we got the check from 2011, right, and it said lawyers' fees, would you be like, fuck it, he's innocent, or not?
I would say that the but for argument would hold more water than it does right now.
That's my question. Fair enough.
Okay. Nonfon 420. Go ahead, Bubba.
Yeah, I guess. So do we need to, in order for there to be a criminal conviction, do we need to prove the but for intent beyond a reasonable doubt?
It doesn't. By the way, the laws will work. Written, it doesn't seem like the but for is even relevant in my opinion. But Lactoid's a lawyer, so he might.
I know this is non-funds, but do we agree that reasonable doubt is the standard for a criminal conviction?
Oh yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt. But the idea that he committing this crime, it wouldn't be a crime because he would have done it in 2011 without the election. Like it doesn't seem like it would be. It doesn't seem like the way this law is written.
Okay.
But then maybe there's some kind of jurisprudence that says that about this law that wasn't provided in this debate.
Hold on. There is no jurisprudence. This is a novel case. This has been charged against Trump in this situation and nobody else. Right.
So 17-152 has never been charged against anybody?
Not in this way. Not in this way.
Has it ever been like? There's got to be.
I don't know. I don't know. It's possible that it was charged in some other potential situation, but it never has it been the case where there's been 34 misdemeanors that are been specifically moved up to felonies to get past the statute of limitations, with the theories here being that the falsification of business records was having to do with this kind of like melding with election law. This is a entirely novel situation.
I would imagine.
And so the question is,
let it finish.
I would imagine.
Hold on, let it finish.
I'm in the middle sentence, and then you can say something.
Okay.
Again, like I hate to feel like I'm looping here a little bit, right? But the point that I'm trying to like really hammer home here is that but for is critical to establish any kind of campaign, any kind of actual felony here, because otherwise you fall into like complete absurdity, right? Can you imagine if, let's say, Donald Trump writes a check to his water company when he took a shower before he went out on stage? Did he and the bill and it doesn't specify, the check doesn't specify, it just says like to water company, it doesn't specify what the check is for, and the water company cashes the check. Did he falsify that business record in order to influence the election by making sure that he was scrubbed clean and like looked good and looked fresh for the cameras?
There is something important to point out here is that these weren't just like personal checks from Donald Trump's. The falsified records were a part of the Trump organization.
They were
So
not part of the campaign.
it was a part of the Trump. That's why it's a business a falsifying of business records. It's not his personal
Okay,
records. he's
okay, you
falsifying.
can alter my hypothetical slightly. Let's say the Trump organization paid a water
Paid
bill
for
that
his
Trump
water
used.
bill.
Yeah, which by the way, Trump
I'm back in
organization,
here
which
real
Trump
quick.
owns.
Nonfon, does this answer your question, or do you have a? You can go if you have another one. Feel free to jump on that.
I mean, I got my answer from Liberal Cluck. He doesn't think it's relevant. But Lactoid, I'm curious. Do you think that we need to prove the but for beyond a reasonable doubt in order to get the conviction?
I do. I think that you have to prove a but for. I think that the argument as to, I think that the taxing is ridiculous. The FICA violation, I think that's the one that I think you'd really have to prove, like the but for. The New York election statute is I think particularly egregious because the argument is, well, it's a misdemeanor, because the actual law and section 17152, quote, conspiracy to promote or prevent election, any two or more persons who conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means, and which conspiracy is acted upon by one or more of the parties thereto, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. And so you got to prove, like, in order to like establish this, you have to prove that they were conspiring to alter the election through unlawful means, or to promote the election through unlawful means. I don't think that you make it. I don't think you make it that he was falsified business records. I don't think that you make it that he promoted the election. And I think you run afoul of some key legal principles if you're going to try to use the the unlawful element of 17152. If you're going to try to wrap in the falsification of business records as the unlawful means, you're essentially turning a misdemeanor into a felony by a predicate of that requires the misdemeanor to begin with. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Well, it does, because
you can charge this as a felony in almost every single situation. Then
you could theoretically falsify business records and not have
Hold
it
on,
be.
hold on. Non-fine. Did you want to say something else in there before we can move on?
All I said was okay. You can move on.
Okay, perfect. All right, I would like to give one more question, non-fine, but unfortunately, we're going to run out of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to do closings. We're going to do the inverse order we did last time. I believe Cluck started. Is that correct? Yeah. And then, Ractoid, you'll start. I'm going to give you, well, I was going to give you more time, but you're going to get 3 minutes is what you're going to get to go. And at 3 minutes, I'm cutting you off, whoever's still going. So feel free and starting now. I'll give you, this will be 30 seconds. All right,
I'm going?
I'll need that. Yeah. So I'll start it now, but this will be 1 minute. 30 seconds, and then I'll just count you down at 10.
Okay. I mean, go ahead and cut me off if I go over. It's fine. So I don't think that falsification of business records has been proven. Again, it's perfectly rational and natural that when you have an attorney, hey, I'm paying you for legal expenses. I don't think that the requisite proof has been provided that this was actually intended to hide something in any kind of illegal way. I think it's probably the case that he was saying, "Hey, like don't specify exactly what it was for. I don't want my wife finding out. I don't want other people finding out about that." But that's perfectly reasonable. When you write a check to lawyers for legal expenses, they don't necessarily have to specify in that check all the different things that they charge for: writing motion, deposition transcript, et cetera, et cetera. Oftentimes, it's just simply a check for legal expenses. That's perfectly natural and perfectly rational. I don't think that you've established an intent that this was done with any intent to falsify. And even if you could somehow prove that this was the case, I think that this would be a misdemeanor with the statute of limitations already passed. And so the only way to bring back the statute of limitations, sort of bring the case back to life, is through turning it into felonies. And the three theories presented by Bragg, I think, fall on their face independently. The tax issue wasn't even talked about. I think that was relatively conceded. He paid more in taxes. There's no real reason why you would want to it would make sense to intend to commit tax fraud to pay more taxes. Definitely not beyond a reasonable doubt. When it comes to violation of FICA, the arguments can be the same thing as when it comes to the New York law. I don't think there's actually evidence here that this was done with the intention of altering the campaign. I think this was done very much along the same lines as he did before in 2011. If he didn't do this in 2011 and he had just like let Stormy Daniels do whatever right up until his election, maybe you could argue at that point that this was done for a specific electoral purpose. But I think the smoking gun here is the fact that before he was running,
Yeah, I don't think he knows what it is.
has nothing to do with his campaign whatsoever.
That's funny.
Michael
Cohen and his lawyers were going after Stormy Daniels to try to silence the fact that she was talking about an extramarital affair that Donald Trump had. Plenty of reasons why somebody might want to not have an extramarital affair come out, especially if they're married and if they have a bunch of business dealings. The New York election law, I think that you have a contradiction in law if you're using this to turn a misdemeanor into a felony by appealing to the misdemeanor itself. And I also think that if you're going to say it's due to some other unlawful purpose as specified in 1715, you have to prove FICA and you have to prove the tax fraud, neither of which I think you'll be able to do. This was because of a biased judge, prosecutor, and jury. I think that Donald Trump is not guilty of 34 felonies, and I would have voted against his conviction if I was part of that jury.
Right, fantastic. All right, we just reset this, and Clark, you got the last statement here, and then we'll have some judging, and I'll tell you how the judges work. All right, fantastic. Go ahead.
I think that the idea that the judge, all 12 members of the jury, and the prosecutor in this case was just all biased against Trump, and that's the only reason why he got convicted, is way more fantastical than the idea that Donald Trump falsified those business records in order to help promote himself in his 2016 election. Lactoy said that the smoking gun is that he didn't is that he tried to pay hush money to Stormy Daniels in 2011. Therefore, there's no but for with the 17-52, the New York election law. However, there is no evidence that Lactoid has been able to bring up that Donald Trump actually falsified business records in 2011, which would be a new act in which he committed in order to promote himself to be president. So the fact that he actually paid hush money isn't what's on trial here. The fact that he falsified documents, which the 9 checks and the other 33 documents, the invoices and ledgers, they were all presented to the jury. Goodness gracious. Sorry, I had a chat come in. Yeah, so he says that falsifying business records was not proven. The checks have his signature on it. Not all of them do, but they have his signature on them with the falsified reason for paying Michael Cohen. It just seems so cut and dry to me. I'm not it's pretty obvious that Trump signed those checks. It's pretty obvious that he put the wrong reasoning on those checks, and it's pretty obvious that he did so in order to hide the fact that he slept with Stormy Daniels and paid her hush money before the election so that he has a better chance of winning the presidency. That's all I got.
You don't have to end there. You still got 1 minute.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All right, perfect. Chat. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put the voting up. Chat, y'all vote on who see if I get it. Who won? Real simple there. The judges in here. All right, y'all DM me each who y'all think won, and then we'll announce at the end of the show. And we're about to switch here to the other debate, which is going to be: is healthcare a human right? With our boys. Thank you, Lactoid TV, and thank you, Liberal Cluck, for being the very first one. Maybe in many years, when we're all rich and famous, y'all will be able to look back on this day and say y'all were the first ones in the inaugural tournament with pride. Or we can laugh at you. I don't know. We'll see. Always got to be a first winner and loser. So anyway, moving on. Thank you all so much for being here. Shout out y'all's channels while we wait before we switch over. Tell us what you are, what you do.
Oh yeah, I'm Liberal Cluck on Kick and YouTube. Lactoid, thank you so much for debating me. It was fun.
Yeah. No, thank you for talking. Lactoid TV. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
All right, fantastic. All right, boys, y'all ready to judge? I'm excited to hear. Y'all, as like before, y'all be thinking of questions. If y'all can chat, if y'all have questions, send them in. I try to get them in if I think they're good, unless they answered or something. Sometimes that happens too. Perfect. So thank y'all so much. Once again, we'll announce the winners at the end. Y'all two get ready to judge now. If y'all want to turn off your cams, that'd be fantastic. Or you can stay in here. I don't really give a shit. And look menacing to more people. That's always good. Stare them in the eyes. Let them know that you're judging them. Either one's fine with me. All right, fantastic. Who wants to start here? Do we want to do a coin flip?
It doesn't matter to me because I wrote an opening statement because that's what you should do. So if Nonfon, did you write an opening statement? Because if not, it might be easier for you.
Yeah, I did write one. It's
perfect.
Okay, well then we'll do a coin flip.
Then we're just gonna do a coin flip. Fabian, you're gonna be tails. Oh, I just had a voice crack. Woo! And then Nonfon, you're gonna be heads. All right. So somebody remember what I just said because I'm sure my ADHD will make it forget. It's tails. So Fabian, you're going first here. Wow, I didn't forget. I'm proud of myself. Much better than the first time we did this. All right, go ahead. You got between 5 to 7 minutes would be the optimum. If you go over 7, I'm cutting you off.
All right, fair enough. Healthcare is not a human right. To claim so is a claim that contradictions are true, as healthcare requires the labor and resources of other people, and if it is indeed a right, it is a right or entitlement that infringes upon the liberty of others, or a positive right. Positive rights are not a freedom or liberty, but instead imposed upon others with violence. In other words, for healthcare to be a, quote, right, you must deny the right of bodily autonomy, property rights, freedom of association, and for individuals to negotiate wages and prices for their skills, labor, and property. If healthcare and positive rights are to be justified, one must claim that men do not have liberty to act according to their own volition and may be forced into slavery for the greater good. Thus, the claim that healthcare is a human right is a claim that might makes right and is a contradiction with human rights. If enough people collectively decide that you have too much money, they can steal it at any point of a gun, and then turn those same guns on hospitals, doctors, nurses, and more to force them into servicing those that they do not wish to treat, force them to cut costs, force them to divest in research, and force them to set their prices. The concept that healthcare is a human right is not based on logic or inalienable rights, rather it is based on using violence for presumed outcomes. It is consequentialist nonsense that attempts to run from the fact that their position is that the power of politicians and guns make what is right and wrong. But the devil is in the details, and the devil deserves his due. Most people can agree that healthcare is expensive, that many lose in the game of life, unable to afford basic care they need to thrive. How ought we deal with this reality? At first, a small tax increase to subsidize care, or better yet, doing away with the capitalistic healthcare system that preys on those without the funds to fight insurance claims, and that uses a profit model on a good that is essentially infinitely elastic is a good idea. After all, it's not like you can shop around for the cheapest surgeon with the best Google reviews to remove a bullet from your lung. The violent consequentialist that believes might makes right will argue the system is broken and we ought to sacrifice a portion of our wages and property to gain access to affordable health care and to subsidize those less fortunate so that they can have the opportunity to recover from their ailments and become productive members of society and our economy, all leading to a more productive and moral society. Everyone benefits from this. It's a nice sentiment if you ignore the axioms, and even a better fantasy. First, I'll acknowledge our healthcare system is broken. It is far too socialist, a Frankenstein's monster. Healthcare used to be private enterprise of family doctors who catered to the rich, but with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, many workers soon banded together to form the lodge system. These disgusting working class people began to form collective associations that paid for doctor services and negotiated wages with the powerful elite. So the AMA was created in 1847 to fight this influence, and since 1910 has been a pseudo-government organization limiting the graduation of medical professionals in America. Healthcare is the most regulated industry in America, from the FDA, CMS, HHS, NIH, state boards, the Joint Commission, OIG, NPPD, and on and on. Insurance companies are forced to cap profits, accept terminally ill patients, and still have a fiduciary responsibility to the very state-based pensions that fund them. Medicare and Social Security programs are too long and complex to list and drive up costs to no end. Hell, hospitals can't even legally be built in most states without years-long certificate of need boards. But even though the American healthcare system is a mixed and regulated market, it still offers lower prices, superior outcomes, and innovation than European-style socialized medicine. The socialists will argue that the ends justify the means. But what are the ends? No one can predict the future, and the choice to violate human rights with the creation of socialized healthcare should never be based on outcomes, price, or innovation. Nevertheless, the socialists will claim that programs like the NHS are cheaper than American healthcare, and thus save us all money. This is a lie. Data on healthcare costs is highly influenced by academics, government officials, and benefactors of the current system, i.e., the rich and powerful. They often cite the price of healthcare instead of the actual cost. Insurance companies rarely pay the black book price of hospital services. In fact, the only people who regularly pay the full price are you through Medicare. Furthermore, Cadillac health insurance plans and medical freedom mean that union workers offer superior healthcare plans in private hospitals, and millionaires spend millions on experimental interventions. Data is again scarce, but likely well over $1 billion in medical debt led to bankruptcy each year in America, with over $220 billion in medical debt existing in 2021, which is, of course, passed on to others who do pay. That's part of the cost. American healthcare offers supreme outcomes compared to other countries. When comparing demographics, America is ahead of the world in infant mortality, life expectancy, and other metrics. Yes, we have unique circumstances with gang violence and mass immigration that pushes down statistics. So what about those left behind? In 2009, a Harvard medical study estimated that upwards of 45,000 Americans die from lack of access to health care, and nearly 18,000 people in America die on waiting lists for care. A sad statistic, to be sure. That's potentially 63,000 dead Americans. And while there is a large overlap in these categories, let's assume they're all unique citizens. So let's compare that metric to the estimated 120,695 people who died in the UK on waiting lists in 2022. Recent studies suggest the number may have been doubled in 2023. But let's stick with these. There are currently 67 million people living in the UK and 331 million people living in the US. This means that per capita rates of deaths from lack of insurance and death on waiting lists combined is over 9 times higher in the UK than in the US, even when we stretch the numbers to the highest possible estimates for the US and the lowest possible estimates for the UK. Even with our unique gun deaths and a country that is bordering on morbid obesity, you have over 9 times more likely to die from the NHS than you will be from the American healthcare system. I'll skip this next paragraph. We'll get into it later. In summary, healthcare is not a human right. It is a socialist claim to might makes right based off of faulty reasoning and poor evidence. It is a contradiction that is not only false, but evil, claiming that man ought be enslaved and stolen from by the point of a gun so long as enough people can be led to believe that it is a right. It has no logical grounding, even though its own obsession with empirical evidence and belief that ends justify the means. The argument falls flat to show that anyone's life would be improved by treating healthcare as a human right. Even if it were not a false statement to claim that healthcare is a human right, I would prefer to live in a country where some 9 times more people will die from poor care, ballooning national debt when we're already $37 trillion in debt, and a loss of innovation leading to countless future deaths. Healthcare is not a human right.
All right. Actually, you were shorter than Lactoid. So, I lied. Lactoid's still longer. All right. Let me just reset this here. And whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I entail negative rights of people because I think it improves society. In the same way, I entail positive rights of people because I also think that they can improve society. So the way I interpret prompt is essentially, is society better off with some type of universal healthcare? To which I think the answer is yes. There's a lot of goods I don't think people are entitled to, like a new PS5. The cost of providing everyone with a new PS5 is very high, not just in dollars, but in the in market inefficiencies you're going to cause. The benefit's also pretty small. A lot of people would barely benefit at all just because they don't play video games or they already have their preferred system. But with necessities, however, I think society overall works a lot better and suffering is generally reduced if we ensure some minimum amount of access to it. With a lot of other necessities, we already do this to some extent with things like food stamps and income security programs. We could do it with healthcare via a public option or a single-payer system. Ensuring equitable access to healthcare, it's something I'm willing to pay some price for in terms of market inefficiencies. Luckily, I don't think the cost here is that high because the market for health insurance and healthcare fails for a few reasons. There's barriers to entry, there's information asymmetries, there's positive externalities, there's inelastic demand. In some cases, arguably even perfectly inelastic demand. When Fabian says people aren't entitled to healthcare because it requires stealing from other people, he's jamming in his definition of entitlement into his definition of stealing. Taxing someone is only aggressive if you believe the money being taxed belongs to the person it is being taxed from. That's a claim about entitlement, not a claim about aggression.
Is that it? Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. I just got me there. All right, cool. Let's open it up. Y'all can go at it.
I think it would be best if we first start the first portion on the philosophical grounds of what is a right, right? And then maybe we can move into potentially an internal critique of your position, right? Which is that the outcomes or the ends justify the means. Is that fine by you?
Sure. I don't know how far we'll get with that, but sure.
Well, I mean, like at a certain point, we should cut it off because the philosophy just gets too boring. But my
Don't
question
worry about
is,
that. I got you on that, Bob.
Yeah,
Sure, but
fair
where I
enough.
think this is going is you're going to tell me that you believe that we do have some rights, and the claim that I'm going to make in response is that if your system is just claiming that we do have rights, that liberty is a
Mhm.
right, it doesn't really tell me what I ought to do about that right, and that this is
You're
not a very
correct.
solid
Negative
ethical
rights
framework. for
don't
me.
make negative rights do not make ought claims. That is correct. They don't claim to make ought claims. That's why in my opening statement I said, what ought we do about this problem, right? Because there are plenty of ought things that you can do about this problem, right? But your claim is that healthcare is a human right. And then your definition of a right is an entitlement, I presume, an entitlement. Like, where does that entitlement come from? Is a utilitarian calculus? Like, how are you calling something a right whilst denying the existence of rights? At least in my
Well, I
framework, and
deny
how
the
they're
existence of
traditionally
rights.
defined.
I said in my opening, I deny the existence of rights like as an intrinsic thing that just exists. But with a utilitarian moral framework, I think there are norms that we can establish that make society overall better off. Some of that is negative rights.
Okay, but
Some of that
hold on,
also is
pause.
positive rights, like a right to
An
education
ethical-
or a right to healthcare.
An ethical norm is not a right. Okay,
Well, if you don't wanna
those are
call
two
it-
different things. So you agree with me that healthcare isn't a human right because you don't have a concept of rights based off of the definition. Like, can we just
Well,
wrap
you're
it up and say
defining
I
rights
won
in
the
your
debate
in your
there,
own
and
way.
we're having a different discussion?
I don't see why rights necessarily have to be something that's like intrinsically true. I think rights can just as easily be something provided to people by a state or by a constitution. I don't see why we have to use your special definition of rights.
Okay, so you agree that you are positing the fact that might makes right. That if enough people get together and use violence and force, or potentially argumentation with a latent background effect of violence and force, that if enough people get together and force that, they can choose what rights are and what rights aren't. So you would agree, for example, and I know this is such an internet meme, but I'm going to do it anyways because it's funny, right? Like, you would agree that like Hitler didn't violate the rights of the Jews when he put them in internment camps and killed 6 million of them, give or take a few numbers in case there's a few spurgs in chat, right? You would agree that that was not a violation of human rights, that it was actually perfectly fine what he did because he was democratically elected and he had the will of the people under his democratic election, and he did so with a government that had that goal.
Well, I don't think it follows that just because some rights are provided by states that it follows that those rights are the utility maximizing rights. Like I would say, generally we should try to maximize human well-being. Obviously, the rights that Hitler provided did not do that because the rights explicitly allowed him to kill Jews and homosexuals and disabled people.
Okay, so your claim is actually that rights do exist. Objectively speaking, there is a right, and that right is based upon we're attempting to guess with utilitarian calculus what those rights are. So you believe that through utilitarianism there is a convergence here where we're actually discovering rights that do exist independent of what the state does. Wouldn't that mean that rights do exist?
Hold on. Let me ask this. I just want to ask this because I think this is going to tie in to Nonfon. I'll let you ask this because Nonfon, if you could correct me or if I said this, quote you wrong, but you said what was it? Societal norms or societal whatever becoming rights. You said there's not really a substantive difference at some sort of standard. And right now you're talking about discovering rights, which was the question I was going to ask. David, is there a sense that all rights have all been discovered, or does over time new rights can be developed based off whatever? I'll let y'all go from there. I would like all that cleared up. We can start with you, Nonfon, and then go back to Fabian here.
I mean, I guess
to me,
Or let him go first, then you go.
Saying discovering rights kind of presupposes that rights are this kind of magical independent thing that exists. I don't see why that necessarily has to be the case. I just think that there are entitlements and rights that we can afford to people in society that are utility maximizing. I also think that there are things that we should give to people in society that are not utility maximizing. I support giving people to ones that I believe are utility maximizing that lead to the best outcomes based on probabilistic knowledge, as Fabian will love to point out.
Okay, but
Fabian
here's the
believes that
problem.
they're
But here's the
intrinsic
problem,
magical.
right? Is that they're not magical; they are intrinsic. And the reason I believe they're intrinsic is, going to be a much longer conversation about, my libertarian philosophy that I don't think is helpful here, right? But I just want to state, right? Like, you agree that Hitler incorrectly guessed via the utilitarian calculus what the correct right was. So the right is independent from the politicians, independent from democracy, independent from the will of the people. That there is a right that exists, that is a rule out there somewhere, that if you follow this rule will be under your utilitarian calculus, happiness or whatever arbitrary means by which you view is a positive outcome, that it exists independent from what the state does and independent from the policies that it has. Do you agree that that is
I don't
true?
think it follows. No, I don't think that follows. You saying
So
that
then
like,
Hitler didn't violate any
incorrectly-
rights.
I think the rights that Hitler supported were not utility maximizing. I don't see why it necessarily follows that rights therefore have to exist independently of what the state provides or whatever. There are things I think the state can provide that are utility maximizing. There are things I think the state doesn't provide that aren't utility maximizing. It just doesn't follow. You saying that like Hitler incorrectly guessed what the correct rights were equates to me for just saying like Hitler did something immoral, and like I agree, buddy. Good job.
So by your definition, by your framing of this, right? You're saying Hitler didn't use the right rights. He didn't give the right rights that would have been
He did not give utility
maximizing.
maximizing rights. Yes.
Exactly. So there's only two options here as far as that conversation goes. Either A, which I've presented before, which is that rights exist independent of the state, and that whatever the thing is that is, utility maximizing, a rule that you could create for society that is utility max exists, and the state can get it wrong, and that is an objective metric out there somewhere. You deny that there isn't a right answer, right? Which I don't know how you could claim that there isn't a right answer, because you would be arguing for a right that doesn't currently exist, which is healthcare as a human right, or B, right? So that would be a contradiction in your own argument, and thus you would lose the debate from that.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do.
Hold on, let me finish. Let me.
Well, I
finish my
haven't let you
argument.
finish. I haven't let you finish. Here's what I'm just saying. I want you to finish. I'm gonna let him rebuttal, and then if we can't agree to right, then I'm gonna define right. So go ahead, you finish.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
all right.
Take your time. Yeah, that's
and
what
then
I'm saying.
or B, if Hitler discovered, gave the wrong rights, what you were saying is that rights are simply an amorphous thing that the state determines, and that those can be the right rights or they can be the wrong rights. And by that definition, a right has become meaningless to the term right and is now being redefined as policies that the state puts forward and claims are rights. And so the state could claim anything as a right, and you would say that meets the definition of a right. And therefore, your argument isn't healthcare as a human right. Your argument is we ought to have socialized healthcare because I believe that it's utility maximizing. And you're kind of just dispensing with the entire concept of rights. So which way would you prefer to lose this debate?
Well, I mean, I obviously don't think it follows. When you say like the rights, again, I think rights are something that can be entailed to people by society. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a state. That certain rights are going to maximize utility more than other rights. I'm going to support giving people the rights, entitling them to things that I think are utility maximizing. I don't think it follows that just because the state, gives rights that lets them kill Jews, that those were the wrong rights in the sense that there are like rights that objectively exist that are like the correct rights. They just want
healthcare is a human
maximized.
right. Healthcare is a human right, right? That's your argumentation here. I gave you the two domains. You said, I don't think it logically follows, and then you just didn't actually explain why it doesn't logically follow, because I used your own logic in both of those examples. But setting that other victory aside, right? Healthcare is a human right, right? This is a positive right. Hitler is another great example, right? He created the largest per capita labor union that ever existed in human history. That'd be one type of right that he did, because you're arguing that positive rights are good. So, forcing capitalists to have a state-run, union that, answers to the will of the state would be another form of a right here. Now, is that the right, or is that the wrong right? Or is it that that's just a right because Hitler said so? Actually answer the problem here.
All right, yeah. So Nonfon, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna let you answer because I said I was gonna do this, and I let it go a little bit. I'm gonna let you answer it, and then as soon as you're done, I'm gonna define right. All right. So y'all go ahead. You go ahead, Nonfon, go. That way we can
Okay,
move on
what
to
are
this
you
part of the debate.
saying Hitler did exactly? I don't think this necessarily constitutes a right. You're saying he.
Well, you believe in
allowed people
positive
to join a
rights,
union?
right? Right. So
Yeah, I
you
think
believe in
positive rights
positive
can be
rights.
good. Yes.
Right,
They
which so
can
you
be
believe
good.
you believe that bodily autonomy and all, private property, all these things can be sacrificed, and that people can be forced to pay money, forced to give up their property in order so that others can benefit. Right, and so one example that I gave of that,
you're jamming in your theory of entitlement, which is that people are like entitled to what they produce and they're entitled to their own body. You're jamming in like all these other entitlement theory things into your
well,
theory
no.
of
If you listen to my opening
aggression.
statement, right, I claimed that it was a contradiction, and I said the reason is a contradiction is because you would have to get rid of all of these negative rights in order to claim positive rights are true. You have to get rid of those negative rights. You cannot simultaneously say, I have a right to my private property and I have a right to set my wages and labor at whatever fucking price I voluntarily choose, and at the same time say the government has a right to take some of your private property and to control what those wages are so that other people can have health care. Those two things are contradictory.
Do you see
have
how
to
the
give up one or
disagreement
the
here
other.
is over the theory of entitlement? Because you believe people are entitled to all these negative rights. Or under my view, people are entitled to more than just these negative rights. Stealing from someone is only stealing if you believe that they are entitled to that money.
They're contradictory. It can't be more.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna pick a definition. We're gonna use the Black's Law Dictionary because I don't know why not. I don't get to use it enough anymore. So we're gonna give y'all two definitions, and that's how we're gonna use for going forward. That's how we're defining right. That way we can just move this conversation a little bit forward past this this sticky point. All right. A right that belongs, and we're going to do absolute right, a right that belongs to every human being, such as a right, a person's liberty, a natural right. 2, an unqualified right, specifically a right that cannot be denied or curtailed under specific conditions. All right, that's what we're going to go with. Have at it.
Well, it's two definitions, and the first one is natural law, which is my definition, and the second one is one that states that a right. Well, there's two definitions there, and the second one is his, and the first one is mine.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't have a big problem with the second definition. Yeah, like it's something that cannot be denied to people. Like as of now, healthcare is to some extent denied by people because it's run in a private market.
Okay, is that
under
universalizable?
my system, it wouldn't be really denied to people.
Is that universalizable? That you cannot deny healthcare?
I mean, I would think so. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I have an experimental procedure that costs $10 billion, right? And it's for a disease that 100 million people have. Right? Does that mean the United States government can steal and seize all property in the United States, right? Seize all of the wealth of all of the millionaires and billionaires and everything. Stop making roads, stop funding public schools, stop everything that the government does in order to ensure that no one is denied that $10 billion, experimental procedure.
Okay, when he said universalizable, my interpretation was like, can the government actually ensure everyone can get healthcare? I think they can, for the most part.
Right, but healthcare is a vague term,
you're actually
right?
talking about it's a universal. I mean, it's a vague term, but you're actually talking about is the moral statement universalizable? I don't think like the moral statement you have to provide healthcare or whatever is universalizable. I think a more limited statement like
well, then you don't think it's a right.
Is
right.
Well,
so you obviously don't believe it's a right if you don't think it's universalizable.
We should maximize utility. Also, again, when you say all this stuff about stealing, you're jamming into your definition of stealing your theory of entitlement. You don't believe that the government is entitled to things that people make because you believe what people make or people should own what they produce. That's the theory of entitlement. Yes. That's not a theory. That's not a theory. But you recognize that is
my
theory of entitlement.
Rights. Yes, it's a negative right. Yes.
Which you believe comes from your theory of entitlement. I have a different theory of entitlement. I believe we should entitle people to things that are welfare maximizing. You believe that people are entitled to, what they produce, and the actual disagreement here is over the theory of entitlement. You can't just jam in to your definition of stealing your theory of entitlement.
I mean, I'm not jamming in anything, right? I'm not sneaking in that I'm a libertarian and that I believe and support negative rights. Okay, like I'm not jamming in the existence of negative rights. Negative rights aren't contradictory. Positive rights are. That's like it's quite simple.
Because what you're doing when you say this is again your negative rights apply because you believe people are entitled to what they produce. That comes from your theory of entitlement.
They're entitled to their body. Yes, people have bodily autonomy.
Well, but you also believe people are entitled to their money and taxation is theft, right? because you
Yes,
believe
of
people are
course.
entitled to what they produce. So you
Absolutely.
see how that's a theory of entitlement thing. I have a different theory of entitlement.
Well, it's not an
You know,
theory
when
of
you, like
entitlement.
what you're doing is
it's
by
a
saying
right.
like all this stuff is stealing.
Rename it
You're
as such.
jamming into your definition of stealing, just acting in a way that's inconsistent with your libertarian theory of entitlement. Under my theory of entitlement, acting in ways acting in ways inconsistent with that are also stealing. But the actual disagreement here is over the theory of entitlement. You can't just keep jamming in. You can't just keep jamming
the
this
problem.
in.
The problem. The problem here
quick.
is that you're claiming a right exists. Okay, and so you can't just say a right is an arbitrary thing that we believe in the future we can predict will lead to better outcomes, right? Like by that metric, you could say that you have a right to ban pornography, right? You have a right. We have a right to remove pornography from existence. Okay, well, what does that mean, right? It's like, well, you must, by definition, then say that people don't have a right to produce and view pornography. That is taking away, that is imposing with violence their ability to engage in something, right? That you're saying that negative right doesn't exist.
As you believe, it's only violence insofar as you believe that they are entitled to do, X thing. In the case of
hold, pause. I will give you all day long that in my opening statement, in my entire life, well, in my streaming life and in the last few years, certainly, right, believe in negative rights and believe in the non-aggression principle. But you cannot say that it is non-violent to use guns to stop people from behaving in ways that they want, or to use guns to forcibly take their property. You can't say that's non-violent.
I didn't make any claim about violence. I didn't make any claim about violence. I'm making a claim about it being an initiation of force. It's only an initiation of force insofar as it's inconsistent with what you believe people are entitled to.
An initiation in force.
Only because you definitionally believe that people are entitled to what they produce. If you
I believe in words. I believe in words that if you take guns
mm-hmm.
and you say I'm going to take your money because it's actually our money because we say so, that is absolutely force. Like, don't be silly.
Well, let me ask.
You just think the
so
force is justified.
Wait. Can I ask this? I know you've heard this example before. Let's say you're on the the ninth floor of an apartment building that you were, legally allowed to go to. You fall out of a window and you grab on to that person's flagpole, right? And you're like climbing your way down the flagpole, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody says, "Hey, wait, I did not give you permission to use my flagpole. Should you let go of that flagpole?"
So the flagpole.
Would it be an initiation of force? Is that an initiation of force? Is the real question.
It would absolutely be an initiation of force under natural law, absent any common law existing, which obviously would, right? So the flagpole analogy in libertarian philosophy is very interesting, and the reason it's very interesting, and I'm glad that you've been learning a little bit about libertarianism and the arguments we use. It'll make you a better person once you finally accept that I'm right. Is that the reason that it's so interesting is because natural law philosophy does not deal with contracts and does not deal with common law. So absent any contract, absent any common law, absent any superficial additive voluntary systems that say that if you're in an apartment building, that debris that falls down, these are the rules in which we live by. Yes, absent any form of lease or contracts or all of those things, it would be a form of aggression to then intentionally move onto someone else's property without their permission, even if you accidentally ended up there. But again, that's absent those prior voluntary agreements. Something that
all right, hold up, Nonfon. I'm gonna let you go respond to that here just 1 second. All right, you can respond to that, and then here's the next question I want y'all to kind of focus on here, like moving from the theoretical to the practical, right? Because right now it seems to me y'all are arguing on what is the right. Okay, so we clearly all have different opinions on which is better, right? So here's what I want to know: what's the superior? Sell me on it. Sell me on why healthcare should be a universal right versus should it be the greater good? Does it matter if it's the greater good? Should the individual be all best? Like all these kinds of things. However, just sell this to me after that. But go ahead and respond to him, and then let's move on to that Nonfon.
I gave a bunch in my opening statement, so I feel like it's fair to let Nonfon start this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he also needs to respond to your last thing. So go ahead. So you respond to that, and then start us on with that as much as you want.
I mean, the easy response is just that it's only a violation of rights because he reads into it his system, his preferred system of entitlement. Mm-hmm. His preferred system that the person who uses the land for productive purposes owns the land. If you have a different view of entitlement, like my view, that people are entitled to things that, maximize utility, then
You're bringing up
we're fighting over
libertarian
theories of
thought
entitlement.
experiments as a meme and not understanding the full context, because I was absolutely crushing you in the before, so you had to subvert the conversation. But it's fine. Your savior has swooped in to save you. Gibbs wants us to move into an internal critique of your consequential analysis, right? Because I've already won the first portion of the debate. So go ahead and give the
I
reasons why you think
gotta
universal
let
healthcare is
Nonfon
better.
respond to that. Nonfon, you can also respond to that too, but let's I'll let you respond to that. Yeah, and then we go to the theoretical to practical. Go ahead.
I mean, I'll talk about the like the morality behind it all day. I don't know what you mean. I mean, if someone just has not read anything about libertarian philosophy, or has only read your version of libertarian philosophy, maybe they think you're winning. I think for anyone of half a brain, they see the insane reductios that your system of property would lead to. But I mean, we can switch to the practical if we want to.
Yeah,
I
go
guess.
ahead.
Yeah,
That-
perfect.
I mean, you go ahead and go, right? Like I said, I gave a
Yeah, go
bunch
ahead.
in my opening statement.
Oh, sure. I mean, like, it's easy to understand why for certain, certain industries, the market could fail. It could lead to worse outcomes than, if the government intervenes in the market in some way. So, with healthcare, we have the issue of inelastic demand, right? Like, there are certain things that you have to get essentially no matter what. Insulin has very inelastic demand. A heart surgery is going to have essentially perfectly inelastic demand in an emergency. If you don't do it, you will literally die. The government can impose price ceilings on stuff with perfectly inelastic demand and doesn't have huge negative outcomes. There are also issues with positive externalities. If healthcare is too expensive, people don't go get preventative care. They stay sick more often. They don't show up to work. They are less productive. And there's information asymmetry. There's adverse selection issues. There are all these issues why healthcare could be better solved by a public option with some limited competition than a strict free market system.
So your evidence is I don't want to straw man you. I want to steel man you to the best of my ability, right? Which is that your philosophical position is we'll say maybe rule utilitarianism, if I had to guess, right, based off this conversation.
Yeah, I would say broadly rule utilitarianism. Yeah.
All right. So presumptively, you're looking for material outcomes as well as presumed happiness metric, right? Potentially things like opportunity, right? So I brought these up in my opening, right? I said that it was very close, if not perfectly inelastic, and I said you're not going to search Google reviews for the best cheapest surgeon in town when you're getting your heart shot with a bullet to remove the bullet, right? You need that done immediately. I don't disagree with that. But that doesn't actually make the argument that government or treating it as a right has any improvement. Your entire response thus far is just a claim that I've already dealt with in my opening statement. So I guess I'll let you go again because you didn't give anything beyond a claim, of which I already gave reason, logic, and evidence is false even in my own opening statement. So do you have evidence that that it will lead towards better outcomes, that it will lead towards a happier, healthier society, as arbitrary as that is? And for the audience, I am doing an internal critique here. Do you have that?
I mean, I didn't bring anything up because I thought you would object to the market failure stuff, as libertarians like to do. But like, you could see how like the
say
government
market
could solve...
failure so much as
I did. I'm pretty sure I said market failure, but
it's fine.
But I mean, we have like you could see how the government could solve like the adverse selection issue if they just mandate everyone get health insurance, right, or automatically enroll everyone onto a specific public option plan.
Well, okay, so your first, so we'll deal with this bit by bit, right? So the government could solve the problem by the adverse selection by forcing everyone to be on health insurance. Now, who would pay for said health insurance?
People via premiums, but also again, when you say force, you're reading into it the definition, your theory of entitlement. So I obviously object
I'm
to
not
that.
reading in my fucking definition of force, you autistic weirdo. When you say we're going to make a law that says you must do this, and then if you disobey that, there will be punishments, and me saying, yeah, they're going to force people to do it. I'm not utilizing force from a libertarian definition.
You think
I'm
it's an
using a
initiation
colloquial
of force.
definition. No, you're trying to run away from the question back into trying to make libertarianism appear as a meme because it's not a well-known philosophy to the audience. Fuck that. Answer the question and just think of force as colloquial, which is that it is against the law and that people with guns are going to either take shit from you or they're going to fucking put a gun to your head and put you in a cage if you don't follow said rule. And the rule is everyone must have health insurance. Now, who's going to pay for that health insurance?
I mean, it depends on the exact option. I think a single payer system would probably still be a net benefit, but I'm more in support of a public option in which people would pay premiums.
You hold on. Let me just do this.
Yeah,
Could you define a net benefit? Like, what do you mean by what is a net benefit?
Leads to overall good outcomes relative to the counterfactual.
Okay.
Right. So right, but the problem is that that's arbitrary. Like, what is good outcomes?
Well, I mean, good outcomes.
Well, I mean, like in the practical,
it's going to be somewhat axiomatic. So some people might, define goodness in a different axiomatic way. But I would say generally the well-being of sentient creatures.
Okay. Okay. So if I rape you, hold on, pause. If I rape you, right? If I bend you over, I'm 6'5".
Yep.
I've done some martial arts. I've been in the army. I've been through quite a few scruffles and scraps. I've been homeless. I've had to do quite a few things. I'm pretty sure I could rape you if I could get hard, right? If I rape you, right? Now, let's say I rape you and I'm really good at getting away with it, right? I can hide evidence like a motherfucker. And then I and I'm also really good at psychological torture, right? Like Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, right? I'm going to torture you until you become reek, until you believe absolutely that you enjoyed it and that you're my servant. So now you are a servant and you've been psychologically tortured and abused and raped for years on end, but you say that you love me and that you'll do everything for me. I'm super fucking happy, right? Whose happiness is worth more, and by what metric? At the end of it, right? You're absolutely happy now. You're Reek, okay? You're no longer Nonfon. You're Reek from Game of Thrones, and you're now happy, and I'm super happy, right? So wouldn't that be maximizing the well-being of humans in this regard, or would it not be, right?
Depends. In a vacuum, if you're just basically presupposing that everyone wins, then yeah, sure, I'll bite the bullet to be a net benefit.
Maybe I have evidence.
However,
maybe I'm a serial rapist and torturer, and I've done this a bunch of times, and it always works out, and they're always happy.
Well, but now if we're adding in the real world to it, I've already said in my opening, the reason I entail negative rights to people is because I believe generally negative rights are a net benefit to society. It doesn't automatically mean you can never violate a negative right and have it be a net benefit. It just means, in general, I think establishing these negative rights leads to good outcomes.
So how can it be a right if you say that it is morally good to violate it? By what world is something a right if it is also morally good to violate the right? Do you not understand how this is silly?
Well, no, I think it can be utility maximizing to break a right.
Okay, we're getting back in the weeds of you
steal the penny,
just giving consequential
steal the penny
nonsense.
to save the world, or steal the penny to
So let me
violating a right.
That's not a limit. That's not a limit case. The Ramsay Bolton one is obviously a limit case, right? But the concept that you believe that it can be morally justified to violate a right means that you don't believe in it as a right. You just believe in it as a rule that
we don't mean the same thing when we say morally justified, because when you say morally justified, you're making an is statement. It is morally justified to do this because non-aggression principle.
You made the fucking statement that you could violate those rights and that it could potentially be good.
Because again, we mean different things by morally justifiable. When I say morally justifiable, I'm talking about maximizing utility.
Okay,
when you say morally justifiable, you mean it's a descriptive statement, not an ought statement.
No,
it's not a normative statement.
No, I mean that it has to be universalizable, so you can't call something a fucking right and then say that it is morally good to violate said right. It means that it's not a fucking right. You don't believe in rights. That's fine. We can get away from the discussion of rights. The problem here is that your only piece of evidence that your consequential analysis of a single payer option or that socialized healthcare thus far in the debate that you have put forward is that socialized medicine can use the power of the state to force everybody to be in the healthcare system. You haven't explained why that's good or why we ought do that.
That's actually a perfect segue. Hold on. I'm going to let you go in 1 second. It's actually a perfect segue into what I want, right? So I'm just going to summarize what I think I'm getting, and then when y'all can correct me. I'm summarizing, right? And this is kind of where I want this conversation to go. So y'all, I see Fabian's argued over like, okay, I'm not going to go through those definitions because, dear Lord, we've been through that a couple of times, right? So,
of course,
my argument is, and this is my question or argument or whatever, is let me see how to put this. So you basically have Fabian's idea of like, okay, people aren't entitled to people's work, and you have your idea of like a collective good, depending on, I guess, circumstantial, like, like real world circumstances. I mean, you can correct me, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm oversimplifying. I'm sure I am, but that being said, okay,
someone
sell
needs
me
to
on
oversimplify it for the audience.
Yes, yeah. Thank God, I'm real good at that. Real simple man, So that being said, why should we pick one of these over the other? Like, is there gonna be like y'all could use like maybe a real world example, like, oh, everybody, I'm just gonna make some shit up. If I'm right, then hey. Everybody's better, life is better in Sweden because they got healthcare, and why that's comparable to how the US is a bigger, or why even if that is true, it shouldn't matter because they're like holding this ahead at gunpoint if your aggressive view versus hey, that's not what's happening because of mine. So there you go. Keep that in mind. Let's go from there. How's that? Let's see which one's better, and tell me why.
Yeah.
Sell me.
Like I said,
I
gave a punch.
Start here. Yeah,
I gave
go
a
ahead,
punch in my opening.
Sure. Well, we'll come back. Nonfon, go ahead. Sell us on it, and then he can respond.
Tell you
And
why.
also, y'all got about like 2
is
minutes or
better.
so each on this. Yeah. Why do you think your idea is better than, and why is it should trump the other? And then after that, in about 5 minutes or so, 6 minutes, we're gonna go to judges' questions. So you go ahead and start us off there.
In large part, it's just axiomatic. I mean, I don't think that's a huge issue for my philosophy. A lot of them are a result of like more fundamental axioms. I just want to make it very clear for the audience: when Fabian says morally justifiable, he's not making an ought statement. His system cannot tell you ought statements. He's making an is statement. I don't really care if when Fabian says morally unjustifiable, he's making an is statement. What I want my moral system to do is inform me what I ought to do. Fabian's moral system cannot do that. My moral system can.
Okay, yeah, I'll respond.
It is ought time. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. And for once, it wasn't me that brought up the is ought problem.
I know. I said I was shocked.
Yeah. So again, libertarianism is a theory of natural law, and yes, you're correct that it doesn't give moral ought statements, but that doesn't mean that I don't have any beliefs that are moral oughts. That doesn't mean that I don't have objectivist philosophy and other things, and that is also why I said, right. Right. Sure. You get in your jabs. It's fine. At least you're here for something. So again, in my opening statement, I gave several reasons. Number one is that, even under the Frankenstein social mixed market, economy, healthcare system that we have in the United States, it's cheaper. It's absolutely cheaper than it is in other countries. Other countries are going bankrupt trying to pay things. The NHS is a great example of that. Now, that might be potentially because of immigration and things of that nature that they hadn't accounted for. Obviously, like that's going to have a large, impact on cost. But nevertheless, it is cheaper. I gave the reason why, when you look at many of these studies, they claim that it's not cheaper, and why that data is false. And looking at things like bankruptcy, looking at things like the Black Book, you can just test this out in your own life.
Well, wait, no, you don't care about any of that. You care about a priori synthetic statements. Okay, did we not see how if more people are on one health insurance plan, that would lead to a reduction in cost because the insurer can negotiate prices down from providers? Why should I care about any of this empirical evidence? You don't care about it.
Again, it's an internal critique. And as I said, when I went into the internal critique in my opening statement, of which you still haven't given any evidence to support your claims, I said the devil is in the details, so let's give the devil his due. So again, I went into the price metric. Again, I showcase how when we compare deaths combining, dying on a waiting list as well as dying from lack of access to healthcare, that even if we do everything we can to give you the most charitable case, a system like the NHS produces 9 times the amount of people dying, both combining lack of access to healthcare, which of course they don't technically have because everyone is under their under their system, as well as people that die on waiting lists, and that obviously that this shows an outcome where socialized medicine is way more likely to kill you. One of the things that I didn't get into, which I think is really important to discussing the differences, is between 1992 and 2004, the NCBI did a study on medical innovation, specifically talking about drug research. And they found during that period that 43.7% of all novel drugs made in the world were developed and made in America. And recent surveys, one from the RAND Corporation, shows that we have access to about 74% of all medication, which is higher than almost every other country in the world. And then even more research and data shows that it's somewhere between 50 to 70% of all novel prescriptions and drugs are created in the United States, because that profit motive and because of that system of capitalism where healthcare isn't treated like a human right drives that innovation and drives so many things. So it saves countless millions of lives because of that profit model. And furthermore, now the number could be lower than 70% if you account for one variable. It could be closer to 40%. I'm almost finished, right? Which is that many things start development in Germany and then American corporations have to purchase them. And the reason is because the regulations and the socialism is so bad in Germany that they can't actually bring drugs to market. So they'll do the research and the development and then they'll bring them over to America where we're less regulated, we're less socialist, and we treat healthcare as a human right to a much less degree. And that allows them to bring those drugs to market. But nevertheless, a majority of all novel drugs are in the entire world are made in the United States because of that profit motive and because of those systems, even in the kind of mixed market system we have.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, there's a lot of other things you said, but I think you obviously, I need to get just one thing. One thing, Gibbs. Fabian, like, obviously engaged in, like, some type of contradiction there. He's saying, like, simultaneously, hey, look at it, you know, if we reduce cost, we're going to lose a lot of medical innovation, which to some extent I agree with. I do think that going on a public option would reduce medical innovation by a small percentage. I didn't bring studies on how much, but he's also saying somehow it's not cheaper. If it's not cheaper, then how would we?
I never made that
innovation?
claim. I made the exact opposite claim, which is that it is cheaper.
You said it's not cheaper. Other countries are going bankrupt because of it.
So
yes, other countries are going bankrupt because of the healthcare costs that are associated with socialism and with treating healthcare as a human right. It's cheaper in America. Health insurance and healthcare costs are lower in America if you actually understand how to break down the data, as opposed to just using Black Book because they equivocate price and cost.
All right, so I got to jump in here. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna ask a question from Fabian's audience to Nonfon here, and then after you answer this, Nonfon. Yeah, don't worry. I'm trying to watch all the chats. It's a little hard to keep track of everybody and do the moderator. But we're getting there. So this one, they wanted the Nonfon. So you're gonna answer this Nonfon, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Liberal Collect to start us off if he's ready to ask a couple of questions here. So let's go with the question is, Nonfon, do women have rights to their own bodies as society suffers from below replacement fertility and must reproduce? Do you seize the means of reproduction? I guess they wrote a series called The Giver on this. I don't know if y'all remember that book series, but it's a good book series. Anyway, go ahead.
Generally, I believe entailing negative rights to a woman, it leads to positive outcomes. I'm sure we could imagine a hypothetical where, taking away those rights from a woman leads to a net benefit. But I don't think under any set of real world assumptions you're going to get that outcome. Interestingly, though, I think there's a big problem for Fabian when it comes to conjoined twins. Given that I don't know his specific breed of libertarianism, but libertarians make claims all the time that rights can't conflict. But if we have a set of conjoined twins that were made at exactly the same time, they started using all their organs at the same exact time, then who has the right to their shared reproductive organ? If it's neither of them, then they can't be raped. They have no ownership over that over that organ. A lot of libertarians hate the idea of shared ownership. They don't think it can even exist.
I'll let Scott answer that, and then go ahead.
It's a very interesting one. I might get back to you on it, right? Like, because the concept of the right to bodily autonomy is derived from an individual body, right? So what you were talking about is bodily autonomy for a shared body. I would have to, it is an interesting conundrum. I'd have to look into it in more degree. I don't want to give like a full answer now. I like the question. It's the first thing you've asked that's actually good, but I like it.
Yeah. So interestingly, under my system, it's very easy for me. I can say it's probably a net benefit not to fucking rape a conjoined twin. Under your system, this is somehow a hard question.
No, it's not a hard question to rape the conjoined twin, right? But it does become a conundrum, right? If they share the same liver,
conundrum,
right? Well, it becomes a conundrum if, let's say, they share the same liver, like and let's say one of them is, comes down with some type of sickness, and the other one would survive so long as there was a surgery that killed the other one, right? So that the one becomes a parasitic to the other one's life or something, right? The right to bodily autonomy doesn't cease simply because the body has two heads.
Well, do you believe that there could be like shared ownership between his organs? Isn't that a violation of some type of bodily autonomy? Like,
well, again,
quick answer, then I'm going to go to Cluck here.
Yeah, again, like I would say that it would depend upon the circumstances in how libertarian natural law philosophy would handle it, right? In your example of rape, where you thought it was a gotcha, it's obviously not, right? But there might be certain medical situations, right, where one party consents and the other party doesn't, where we have to figure out a first user principle and who is actually the owner of said thing, and I gave a counterexample, right, just off of the top of my head. Like where one is dying and the other can be saved by it, the one becomes parasitic. But again, yeah, like it would be interesting to detail in, but again, it doesn't stump me on the concept of rape such as yours.
Okay, all right, perfect. So let's go ahead. Cluck, questions. You got a couple questions here.
I am so glad rape and Hitler did not come up in our debate.
Oh well, we have high standards here at the Gibbs channel.
Hold on, pause. That's not true at all, Liberal Cluck, because I'm listening to you, and I just know that you think that Trump literally is Hitler. So of course Hitler came up in your debate.
Yeah.
It's a smart choice coming at the judges. I like the strategy. It's a bold strategy. We'll see how it plays off.
I'm teasing.
Yeah. So I guess my first question is going to be to Nonfon. Fabian, what's going on about how medical oh goodness gracious, why can't I think of the word? Development
Insurance?
happens more often in America because one of the things was that they're able to make a profit here. Do you believe that your system of medical care necessitates the banning of profits in the medical industry?
That's to me?
Yes. Your public option, will that strip companies of being able to make profits in your mind?
No, I don't think it'll strip them of being able to make profits. I think it'll certainly, if you're going to reduce costs, you're going to reduce either quality or research and development. Like, I accept that there are trade-offs to these things. I don't think you have to completely abolish profit or anything. And also, like, if we're going to save money, well, maybe we just take some of the money we save and invest it in R&D. Like, just have the government give out grants, which they already do for some things, to more medicine research.
Can I interject just one real quick? You said certainly if you reduce costs, you're going to either reduce quality or something else. That's patently not true within economics, right? One of the best ways to increase profit is to reduce cost, right? That's how you increase your rate of profit.
We're reducing cost, as in reducing cost that people pay, which is because you reduce the price that people that the producers can receive for that good. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, if you mean overall cost to the entire U.S., sure.
In your mind, where does the reduction in cost come from?
It comes from the ability of the public option or single payer to more effectively negotiate with all the providers. I also will add, I do, like I was talking to Econoboy yesterday. Econoboy's a big single payer guy. I'm not as big a single payer because I believe, we should allow people to buy private insurance that covers, medication that is new and expensive and that a public option doesn't necessarily want to cover. It's too expensive. So there is still some incentive for innovation there from private insurers.
Quick question to Nonfon, following up on that. So you believe that a public option would be better at negotiating prices than insurance companies. But what evidence do you have of this, considering that Medicare is uniquely bad at negotiating drug costs, especially when compared to insurance companies, when the private market that is already heavily regulated is better at negotiating those costs? Why do you think more things like Medicare that negotiate drug prices and healthcare costs would be better at it than insurance companies based off of the profit model? Where are you getting that base assumption from?
Medicare was unable to negotiate costs for a while until my man Biden made them able to do it.
Joe Biden.
So I'd have to know when that data was from. But also, like, I mean,
that's not
I
true
know
at
this.
all. Like,
I know this a priori
that's a
synthetically.
lie.
If you increase the amount of people in an insurance company, they're going to have more negotiating leverage.
That is a lie. Bill Clinton was famous for negotiating costs. There have been several presidents and several administrations that, on behalf of Medicare, have put in bills and different things. Now, yes, you are correct that Medicare as a whole negotiating those prices
Can I ask
is
Fabian
something
my
that is
questions now?
relatively.
Yeah. You got this is your last one at Liberal Clock, and then we're gonna go to the Lactoid. Go ahead.
Oh gosh. All right. Fabian, do you believe that rights are absolute?
Yeah, I think they have to be absolute, or otherwise they're not a right. I think if you say something is a right and then you say that you can violate said right, then it's not a right definitionally. It's something else, right? It's some form of as Nonfon likes to call, some form of entitlement, but you're obviously not entitled to it if there are times in which you're not entitled to it, right? Even the human rights, Human Rights Declaration says that it has to be something that can never be violated.
You agree the rights cannot give you ought statements, right? You agree that your rights don't give you ought statements.
Well, they give you, I would say that rights give you an argumentation about what is no longer logically justifiable in terms of, saying your system is ethical if it violates said rights, right? So might makes reality, but it doesn't make right. And so, if I have the guns, I can go and violate rights as much as I want. But yeah, I would say that rights don't give you ought statements. You can kind of derive at an ought not statement from that. But again, libertarian, theory and natural law philosophy doesn't engage in what you ought to do. That's a separate concern.
Yeah, I mean, so long as your system doesn't give you ought statements, I prefer my system, which is actually capable of telling me what I ought do and ought not do.
Dude, shut the fuck up. You don't understand libertarianism if you keep saying this, even though I'm explaining it to you, right? Libertarianism doesn't say what's the best apple to eat, but that doesn't mean that you can't that your moral system is superior if your moral system claims that Red Delicious are better than Granny Smith. It's not making those claims. That's not my full fucking philosophy.
So let's go to Lactoid here. Let you get a couple questions there, and then we'll let them both go.
Thank you. I have a series of questions for each of the debaters, and I will not accept either debater jumping into the answer of the other debader.
All right.
So
that's what the judge is saying. This is one more. By perfect segue, real quick. This is the perfect reason why Gibbs is the best here, because the judges get to decide what's best for them. So if you cross the judges, that's on you. All right, go ahead.
My first series of questions is to Scott. I have this written down. How is this not a semantics debate? Couldn't Nonfon simply define a right as whatever his ideal society categorizes as a service that maximizes overall utility to some degree? If he can't do this, where is the intrinsic and objective source that a right comes from? Is there any level of utility that can override an intrinsic right?
Yeah, so you're correct in that it is a semantics debate, right? About what the word right means, because the prompt is healthcare a human right? And so it's important to know what the definition of a right is in order for us to be able to make the claim positively or negatively that healthcare is or isn't a human right. If the question is, should we as a society have universal healthcare, right? Then we wouldn't be having a semantic debate around the word right, because that's the prompt. He can claim a new definition of right and say that that rights can be violated, under different circumstances, et cetera, from his framework. And, and that's fine for him to say. I think he's wrong. And, he would obviously think he's right if he was making said argument. But again, that's kind of the point of the debate is that it does center around that word and what that word means. And I think that word holds a lot of power to the American people, right? I think it's important when people talk about their rights or their constitutional rights or the Enlightenment philosophy, that you don't hijack those words to mean government power can be used so long as it accepts our fee-fees, but you actually mean it for what it's meant to mean if you're going to argue for political change in the world. And I do think it's an important one as well.
All right, Nonfon, if a service maximizes overall utility, is this the absolute definer of your definition of right? If so, If slavery in the southern United States generated sufficient profits, would owning slaves then become a right? If not, and you have some sort of threshold, what factors play into drawing your line, and why doesn't this apply to healthcare?
I mean, yeah, it's always going to be about utility. If we just presuppose that like slavery maximized utility, then like I would support slavery. Now it happens to be the case that I believe granting people negative rights, like the ability, like self-ownership, grants sufficient utility in the long run to justify entailing them to people. But like if we just presuppose that it didn't, then yeah, I'll support slavery. I'll bite the bullet, whatever.
He grants them these rights and then doesn't.
Okay, thank you.
That's not a series of questions. It's just two.
Well, no, but it was a series of questions
left?
for each of you. I mean,
fair enough.
Can I dig into?
Yeah, you got about a minute and a half. I'll give you.
Let me dig into a little bit more, because Nonfon answered it very directly, actually, a little bit surprisingly directly, I think. But Scott, where is the sort of intrinsic and objective, like, because you said in your answer, like, we can't like get away from defining a right from what a right is. Like, what is the objective source of the definition of right? Where does this come from?
Okay, so I mean, like, again, it's the objective source for the definition of a word is never going to be a thing, right? I mean, language changes. People use words because they have utility in conveying concepts and ideas, right? Now, when the concept or idea changes and the word stays the same, I think it can be, for lack of a better term, problematic within discourse, right? So I would say that John Locke, right, is defining rights a certain way, that the founding fathers are defining rights a certain way. All of these things that are the corpus of what we feel a right is in our society, and what the political philosophy that set up our current government that we live under, right? That's how right is used. And so if you start using that word differently, then both the philosophy and the doctrine and the opinions of the people that set up our current government, I think that becomes really problematic. I mean, you as a lawyer would recognize that, like, if you just start changing a word and now you can reinterpret a word out of its historical context within law, that can be a real problem for establishing common law and things of that nature. And that, it is important to recognize what that word meant originally, even if we start to use it differently today. And so I do fight to gatekeep those words, at least from an Enlightenment perspective. Rights probably meant different things, and certainly did under, let's say, monarchies, right? I mean, rights were, the rights had a, I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there are texts of governance, right, before liberal democracies where right had and conveyed a different meaning, right? But I don't think that necessarily is a relevant definition to our current legal system and social context.
I'll let Nonfon respond here, and then we'll move to closings here, I think.
Yeah, I thought you thought rights were logically deducible from human action.
I do.
Okay, then that would have been a much easier answer than what you just said. But okay.
Well, no, that's just substantiating the rights, and the follow up to that is a very long conversation,
which we don't have time for right this second.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on you want to say there? Is that all you wanted to say?
Nope,
okay.
I'm good. We can go to.
All right, fantastic. Let's move to closings. Let's get y'all. I'll give y'all 3. I think we gave y'all 3 for each in the first one, so we'll do 3 for each. Now, give me 1 second. Who started this? I think Fabian did. So, Nonfon, you're going to start us off here on the closing. Give me 1 split second. And all right, you can start when you want. I'll give you a 1 minute.
Yeah, I mean,
this will be 30 seconds. All right, go ahead.
I think obviously Fabian makes a number of mistakes when he says morally justifiable. He's not talking about any oughts. He's making a descriptive statement that can't inform what we ought do. I don't see rights as meaningful if they don't inform what we ought do. Under my system, the moral framework does actually inform what we ought do, and we ought entail some rights to people, like equitable access to healthcare, because it maximizes positive outcomes. We didn't talk about it too much, but there's a number of reasons the healthcare market fails. For example, adverse selection. This is when like people who need health insurance most buy health insurance, and they, it can create a death spiral because companies have too risky patients and they have to raise premiums, so the least risky people leave, and this just keeps happening until the healthcare company goes bankrupt. The government can stop that by intervening and mandating that everyone buy health insurance, or by enrolling everyone into a public option. So there's that, and I mean, I guess again, every time he says like the government's, forcing or initiating force, he's reading into the initiating force his theory of libertarian entitlement. He's saying that people are entitled to the things that they produce, and therefore, if the government tries to take that from you, that is an initiation of force. Under my view, we are entitled to things to rights that maximize positive outcomes. So, in my view, it's not an initiation of force to take someone's money. It's defensive force because other people are, to some degree, entitled to the money to maximize welfare. I think it's telling that his philosophy cannot make ought statements and thinks it's a hard question about whether or not a person's rights are being violated when you rape a conjoined twin. I'm done.
Thank you so much. Very short and to the point on many of these answers. Interesting. All right, go ahead, Fabian. You got 3 minutes.
Yeah, before I start, I'd just like to clarify, right, that just because I'm a libertarian doesn't mean that that is the entire corpus of my philosophy. Nonfon is simply lying in his closing statement. He's lying about the fact that, I thought that there was some questions about raping a conjoined twin. I never made that statement. I only said that there was, there would be issues in terms of like liver and who gets to keep the liver, under circumstances where one person may have to die because of specific diseases. And again, I think it's weird to bring up that, morally questionable situations because he was unable to really articulate, what it was that Hitler did wrong when he killed 6 million Jews. He says, oh, well, it's obviously the rights that he gave didn't maximize utility. And the biggest problem with that is that the recognition that there is an action that the state could have taken that would have maximized utility is an understanding that there is an objective truth, right? That, as logic, A equals A, statements must be true or false. So when you recognize that the state can get wrong what rights do and don't or shouldn't exist or which ones maximize utility, even under his own framework, if we agree that he is a logical person and that he believes in formal logic, that A equals A and that, statements must either be true or false, then he recognizes that there is an objective system, an objective rule set that will indeed maximize utility. And so, value is subjective. It can be difficult to determine what those things are, but it is true and it is out there, which leads us to believe via convergence theory that those rights do exist. Now, a right that is conditional is a contradiction in and of itself. To say that something is an inalienable right that cannot be, right, like even when we look at the UN Declaration of Rights, and by the way, the UN Declaration of Rights is contradictory in and of itself because they do think of things like access to healthcare, access to education, and things like that as rights. But even they admit that the right is inalienable. Right? Their own definitions that they use are the things that they contradict later. And so, I'm seeing a similar vein from Nonfon in the way that he is trying to argue that contradictions, exist in reality, when really what you need to do is you need to check your premises because you'll find that one of those is false. From the internal critique perspective, very quickly, I gave a ton of things. He brought basically no data to bear. He had no evidence to support his consequentialism, which is weird because consequentialists usually focus on empiricism, but he brought no empirical data. I did, and I showcased many ways why, socialized healthcare is a problem. The only thing that he is claiming is that apparently the ACA lowered healthcare costs. This is news to me. This is news to literally everyone in fucking America that somehow mandating individuals get healthcare, lowered healthcare costs because we live in that America now, and it did nothing but increase the cost of healthcare. So yeah, I just don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I wish he brought some evidence to bear for his argumentation, but it looks like he just fell flat of having any support for his arguments. It's unfortunate.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. All right, judges, feel free to send me who y'all thought in PMs. And also, chat, voting is up now, so go vote. I'm going to use a quick question break. I'm going to mute this while y'all talk amongst yourselves real quick. And let me know what y'all thought. Y'all can talk about it.
Should we all, separate, me and Lactoid go talk about those two in another room or something?
No, you just DM me who won. Y'all can just talk about whatever y'all want, except don't say who won here until I announce it. Come on.
What are we grading these people on?
All right, so that's really okay. Well, this is perfect time to explain judging category here. The judging criteria And this is the big part. This is why I had it this way. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but one, you challenged Lactoid, I believe, and then I tried to find an issue that 2 other people would disagree on and pair them that way. So for the other one, also Fabian, thanks for stepping in last minute. That was good because we had to fill in for Pentuple. So thanks for being cool with it, Nonfon. I feel like that might happen sometimes, guys. This is Twitch. Some people are like, shit happens, right? Like
don't worry, Pentuple will never debate me again.
We'll see. He said he'll be back on the 10th, and so we'll talk about all these things. Secondly, we're going forward. As the judge, this is how you grade it. However the fuck you want. That's the secret right here. This time, I figured, all right, I don't want to be accused of having a bias. I figured I'll pick a left-leaning judge, a right-leaning judge, and then I'll have a left-leaning and a right-leaning candidate. In every other debate, I actually don't know that I'm gonna be able to have that option because there's only 2 pretty far righties, and now we have one 90s Democrat who's now basically a right winger due to fucking Overton window shift. Basically in the tournament, the rest are all who had people I would consider left leaning. So we can't promise we're gonna have a staunch side, whatever. So I might have to pick issues unless people have been called out for specific things in the opening round. That's how that works. So as the judges, this is the key. Y'all vote how y'all want. That's how you decide. And if y'all want to talk about criteria, y'all want to talk about, sure, whatever. Just don't say who you voted for, and I'll be right back and give you like 2 minutes to chat. Vote now.
Look,
Yeah, go ahead and vote.
Right-leaning people need to get your people on it. Tell them to stop being chicken shit and start debating.
Real.
Well, I would
Bro,
say
I debate
especially with
every
Twitch.
fucking panel. I swear to God.
Lactoid, you're
Lactoid, you're
great.
good,
Lactoid,
Lactoid,
you're
don't worry.
fantastic. I'm saying you need to get your people. Bring your people.
Well, I mean,
My
like our
people-
people have been pushed off of places like Twitch and many of them off of YouTube.
I'm on Kick. I
I'm
don't
on
even
Kick,
stream
I'm
on
on
Twitch.
YouTube,
I
I'm on
won't.
Rumble,
I
I'm on
won't.
Twitter.
I refuse.
I try to come to
support
you.
Kick. I refuse to support Kick. I don't want to support a site that's based off of, gambling bullshit and
Yeah, but you
degeneracy.
support my individual right to support the gambling bullshit.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Nice. I love libertarianism based.
Right. I just wouldn't let you in my community. You know what I mean? Like
Me specifically?
I mean, I don't know. You seem fine, but if you want to be a degenerate gambler and opening gambling casino or something, I'm gonna be like,
okay.
Guys, fuck that. Fun.
Y'all are real talking
You guys are
bunch.
being
I can
boring,
tell.
right? Like,
Yeah, I
was
know.
trying.
Jesus Christ. I couldn't even take a 2-second piss, dear God. I should have just took my headset in there and let y'all listen to that. It would have been more soothing. It would have been some like piss ASMR. That's what Papa Gibbs brings you. Real good stuff. Also, looks like I just got rated, but thank you for just tuning in. All right, we're gonna decide. All right, looks like
you got a raid during a vote. Oh God.
Yeah, woo! We're doing real good. I don't even know who it's from, but all right, little clock. Did you send me yours?
Do you just want the name or you want the reasoning behind it?
You can do both, but
I'll go ahead
whatever
and
you
send
want.
the
Whatever
name.
you want. Perfect.
Oh, I think I sent it in the wrong chat.
Well, it's all right. It'll be all right here.
It's our DMs.
All right, let's look at the chat votes here. All right, well, that's I'm gonna give the chat about 2 minutes. All right, we gotta wait. I didn't realize how long this was when I put it, so we're just gonna give it another 2-3 minutes here. All right, so what did y'all think? Did y'all enjoy this first format? Like I said, this first round is gonna be this way, where the judges are the opposing team. I picked opposite judges from opposite sides of the brackets. I tried to make it as fair, and I did that with the other bracket as well. Next round, that's not gonna be the case. Your opponents will not be the judges next round for the win. So
I think
factor that in.
Here's what I think. I like the concept. I do think though that the judging shouldn't be secret and that you should be forced to say who you voted for and why.
Oh, I'm going to announce who fucking said it at the end.
Right, but okay, fair enough. But I think you should give explanation beyond just like, I thought he was right. Okay, well then fair enough. Then
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be like, all right, so and so voted this way. Tell us why. Kind of like an MMA round card. Except that
it'll be fun.
I just DM'd all that shit to you.
Well, that's why I was like, if you want it, well, now I have it writing. So if you lie,
yeah.
I sent you. Yeah, I sent you.
Yeah,
my reasoning.
Y'all
I've got no problem
the
saying it.
Yeah.
I got no
No.
problem.
Yeah, like I said, that's going to be this first round of the Grand Prix this time. Next round, I already have a gimmick for the next one. And like I said, the strategy. This is kind of what I was
This is how
laughing.
you know I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm gonna be honest. I
Use that pen and paper like an old person.
Yeah, I just type faster, so I do that. But like I was gonna say, this is why I was laughing when Fabian you went after Little Cluck a little bit there, because like I've said, play to the judges. Like next round, if I have like say hypothetically like a roast show guy, that guy's not gonna care about like the facts so much. Or if I have like a normie e-girl or something, she won't care. But I'm also gonna have like I'm gonna offset the judges somehow, so it's gonna be some kind of you play to what you think kind of thing. I'm gonna always have something here. So that's kind of what that. I mean, I also think next round the judges.
So let me know ahead of time if there's going to be an e-girl or something, so that I can
assume there
wear
might always
something
be an e-girl.
other than a black T-shirt.
Just
you know
listen.
what I mean?
Just, I'm gonna tell you right now. Just
try to make myself look a little more presentable.
Always assume that. You never know what I might be like. Surprise! I got a fucking bullshit for you. And I mean, that's usually how I work in life. It's really amazing. What else? What do y'all think of that? What else y'all got for me here? Feedback while we wait for this to finish. We got 1 minute here.
I enjoyed it. I like when people reach out for me to be on things because it's hard to set it up myself.
Oh,
You should reach out to Wick. He's put me on a few panels. That's where I met Gibbs.
Wick said he was going to set up a dating show for me. He hasn't done that yet, but
listen, if he won't do it, I don't want to take his idea. But I'm the king of loving date. Well, not the king, but I do like doing dating shows and hosting them and being part of them. Those are always fun. But so you see if he wants to do it. If not, I'll do it for funsies. That'll be good shit.
Someone in my chat asked,
but it'll be more of like a comedy thing.
Is Gibbs admitting that conservatives are socialists because he brought libertarians in versus the commies?
Well, see, here's the deal.
It's not me. I didn't say it.
Y'all already have y'all actually have a commie on your team. We have a tanky sitting right next to you over there. It's Lactoid. So
what happened? What happened? What is this story referencing?
Yeah, no. This is referencing the fact that I said, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't sell guns to terrorists," and now I'm a tanky. Apparently,
no. You also told me you used to be a tanky. So
what are you talking about?
Well, it's your core beliefs deep down.
That's literally the core belief of tankies: is that you should give guns to terrorists. That is the most anti-tanky thing ever. Right? It's like shall not be infringed.
That's not why
right?
I said that.
Shall not be infringed is the Second Amendment. What do the commies say? What do the tankies say? Under no pretext. The entire Marx was very clear that you need to arm the bourgeoisie for the revolution. So if you believe that you shouldn't give guns to terrorists, whilst depending on the context, I may disagree or agree with you, depending on what you mean by that. That is the most anti-communist take you can have on guns, is to arm everyone but the terrorists. Is the exact opposite opinion of Marx. So I don't buy that makes him a tanky at all. I think that's actually just the exact opposite.
All right, fantastic. All right, let's see here. Looks like the polls, but I mean, it's perfect time to end it. I'm not even gonna give Lactoid a chance to defend himself because Lactoid is a tanky. That's not the opinion why I said that. He's just over here. See, Scott accuses me. I don't know. I don't think Scott's accused me of being a socialist a while, but I accuse Lactoid of being a socialist sometimes. Because he is a tanky, really deep down. What you believe when you're young, those are your core beliefs. See, I have always been this ultra capitalist evil bastard since I was born. Lactoid, he used to be pro-tankyism, and that's what you always are deep down. You eventually revert back to factory settings, and you can't escape it. No, moving on.
Yeah, what can I say? I used to get in trouble for in high school. I was I was supporting Che Guevara, but hey,
is that
I did.
Is that while you were winning awards for Dare?
No, well, yes. Well, Dare was beforehand. But hey, I'll say this. I'll say this though. I did the one thing that most communists never do. I grew up.
Hey.
True. Same here.
Okay.
I guess I haven't grown up as much, but I used to be a socialist. I was reading Lenin in high school, but we've moved past it.
You grew up too.
I've never been a socialist. I'm the only one here. Wait, no, Fabian probably hasn't either, right?
Hold on, I've definitely
No,
been a socialist.
I was a full-blown Marxist when I was younger.
Oh, so me and Gibbs were the only ones that's never been socialists.
So I knew it. I was the only true. I'm not even a libertarian. The true conservative here the whole life. I'm the only one who's been consistent my entire life. In fact, when I was in undergrad, one of my political science teachers would always use me as an example. She's like, "This is almost as much close to libertarian as you'll get." I'm like, "But I'm not though." But anyway, we're not because
She
we
probably
don't want
didn't
to be
know
the normal shit.
much.
She's actually the head of. She is now the head of the department. What is it? I think it's Texas A&M Pan Am political science department. So moving up. So she's awesome. Check her out. She just got a radio show. Christy Malloy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but anyway, on that note, chat. Let me just write this down. All right, we'll start off with the first round of debaters since we went first. I'm gonna just pick one because fuck it. Faded, give us who won and why.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a surprise that I voted for Lactoid. I did everything I could to kind of like be fair here, but Liberal Cluck, it's a bit unfair for you going up against a lawyer, right? I think if you're going to go up against a lawyer in the future, you have to prepare more in terms of like being able to understand like the full aspects of the wording of law, because just what the pundits say is one thing, but like you got to watch like a lawyer review something, have them go into depth and detail about it, for sure. And then also you stumbled in the very beginning with the opening statement, right? Like you didn't really have one, and then kind of like Lactoid had to go. Now I would say I do think Lactoid had a few issues. I think he capitalized a little bit too much without enough like punches, right? So you said a lot kind of because, and again, it's because it's a legal debate. You said a lot, but it was like kind of going in circles. I think you could have had a little bit more blood sports in there, maybe a little bit less repetition of those things, and just been more incredulous. Like, dude, I fucking said this already. I'm not repeating it. You're wrong. And then just moved on to like the next argument. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go. I think you did a really good job, Liberal Cluck, when you were kind of like thrown off by an audience question. You had kind of said, but where is it? Oh, maybe I didn't write it down. Regardless, you were given an audience question. You were like, kind of like, oh, I don't know how to answer this. And then you figured out your footing midway through. And it's obvious that like you weren't prepared for it, but nevertheless, like you recovered and gave like your side's decent argument from it. And like, I respect that because it shows that you have talent for debating if you prepare more and you get more practice, for sure. And then, I think your bias argument also, Lactoid, is a weak argument. I don't think it matters. Like, unless you're going to harp on it more. You kept bringing up the bias, but you didn't attach that to an argument. But nevertheless, I think with the opening statements, with the facts of the case, with the legal theory, et cetera, I think Lactoid won. But there's room for improvement on both sides. And I appreciate it was a good debate.
All right. Not broad. Who won the first one and why?
I should have written down my reasoning. I forget by now. But I voted for Lactoid. I think as someone who does not have a good understanding of the New York case, I felt like Lactoid was able to explain it to me pretty well. And I feel like he did overall like better job explaining his position and like why the things he's saying are true. I feel like he had better knowledge of the case. I would have liked to see Liberal Cluck push back a little more on I guess on the bias thing, because I do think that's probably one of the weaker things Lactoid said, and B, just on some of the, I think you would have had to had better knowledge to do this, or maybe you did and nervous or whatever, but to push back on Lactoid's explanation of why the legal theories are not necessarily good.
All right. Oh, perfect. All right. Okay, so on the first one, the chat had decided as well that the Lactoid was winner. So we got 3-1, 3-0. 3-0. I can't do math on that one with the Lactoid win. All right, let's turn it over to the other side. Good try, Cluck. That was good. That was very brave of you to challenge a lawyer to a
Yeah,
debate
I want
case.
to point out I challenged a
For
lawyer
sure, yes.
on Trump's the most inconsequential, the one that everyone said was the weakest case. So yeah, congratulations, Lactoid.
Also, I want to
Fair,
before we
fair.
move over to the next point, before we move over to the next thing, I'm going to show on my stream here just to explain something here, because people have been asking how some of these matchups were decided, and I'm going to explain that. So some people call people out, like Cluck called Lactoid out, right? And so usually, if you know how I expect, maybe I should have been more explanatory of this, but I'm basing this on how we do fantasy MMA in forum format, right? And so this is going to be a Grand Prix, right? And usually Grand Prix have seeding. So I took the people that had already called each other out, and I seeded them based on how I thought that was going to be. Unfortunately for Liberal Cluck, I mean, not as familiar with Liberal Cluck. I've debated him a few times. I thought it was very brave of him to call a lawyer, but this is going to be my 1v8 matchup. And if you know how tournaments do, you usually do 1v8, 2v7, et cetera, 3v6. So on this, so now to be fair, some of these the seedings kind of just doesn't really matter. Fabian came in kind of late. Originally, we were going to have a debate. Nonfon was debating a different lawyer, so I kind of seeded it that way. So the seeding's wrong a little bit different. I don't know if where I would have put him originally. Now that being said, going on there, like I said, some of these debates have been called out. Others, I'm going to decide the topics. Some of them don't know what the topic's going to be, and others do. So, I guess that sucks for the ones that don't know, but I'll tell them probably tomorrow or the next day, and they'll have about a week to prepare. Going on, yeah, does that make sense? And I also pick people from different brackets to be on this first one, if that makes sense. So if that's the answer to all those questions, I try to do it off seeding. It's arbitrary. We had fill-ins and we had whatever. So yeah, if it doesn't seem balanced or whatever, that's why. In regards to that, people were saying, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, props to Liberal Cluck for trying to take out a lawyer in his own argument. Big fan there. Good showing. And then when we do the seasonal format, you're obviously going to be welcome back. I'll explain how that works when we get there. All right, now for the next debate, I'll start with Cluck. Why don't you go ahead since it lead us off with the who won and why?
I think Nonfon did. Fabian, it was mostly things that. Okay, so to critique Fabian, I think that the reek analogy was really, really bad analogy. I understood what you were trying to get at. It was just it didn't work because in your analogy, the person actually isn't happy, and you'd have to give that the person that's being raped is happy in order to, and that's just not how those things work. So I thought that was a poor analogy. You're also kind of condescending towards your opponent, which I typically don't like. And my chat, I have one chatter, and he also called you out for being insufferable. So I got to keep this chatter around as much as I can. If Nonfon, I think the weakest part of your argument is when you're trying to convince people that they're not entitled to the product of their work. I think that you need to phrase that in a different way. I understand what you're trying to get at, but it's not going to be convincing to anybody. You got to phrase it in a different way. I would say that taxes are it's not that you're not entitled to the product of your work, but you do have to pay into society or something through taxes or some shit like that. I don't know, but yeah, I think that was probably the weakest part of your argument. Yeah, so that's what I decided.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to say, Fabian, I like it when you demean me. Okay.
Yeah, you were mean a bunch of times too, and I enjoy it. I like a little fire.
Good. All right, Lactoid, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, so I voted for Scott. I think Scott elaborated more on the topic. He was more knowledgeable and generally went into depth into arguing for his philosophy, and also brought in some empirics. Early on, he did a little bit of a clever move by refusing to go into his libertarian philosophy when he mentioned the word intrinsic. I think that this should have been immediately attacked. This was the topic of the debate that was sort of rounding on, but he was essentially able to not go into that by saying, oh, that kind of gets in deep into my libertarian philosophy that we don't have to go into. But when Scott says, we don't have to go into this, that should be a kind of a red flag that perhaps you might want to go into that. And so, Nonfon, you didn't capitalize on that, which I think did take away some points. Nonfon, Scott is very aggressive and is pretty well known to be a very verbose debater. And so you need to be able to wrestle control a bit more often, which I don't think that you're able to do too well in this debate. Your lack of assertiveness kind of allows Scott to get out so much more, which gives him points because he's able to have the time to go into all of his different points. I do think, Scott, that you did cross the line of assertiveness a few times, and you insulted him and made one particular shocking hypothetical that kind of felt jarring and came across pretty poorly. And I don't think Nonfon did either to really any kind of memorable degree. So that actually, I think, gives Nonfon some points in that regard. I think that's something that helps to avoid if you want the audience to be on your side a little bit more. But overall, just the overall theme of the debate, I think, was you, Scott, you were just in control of the debate the whole time, right? You were maintaining control, and yeah, did you push the control a little bit too far a few times? Yes, but even when you reined it back, you were still in control, and I felt you really didn't lose control at all during the whole debate, and so that's why I give you the win.
Fantastic. So we have 1-1 on that one. So yeah, you Cluck said Nonfon. Lactoid says Fabian. So I know there's some controversy on the chat saying I had like thousands of votes. Mine ended and it said 27-8. So I'm gonna go with it. Says Fabian. So we're gonna go with that. I think it mimicked what the chat also the other one said. Maybe people were just voting a bunch and it just only showed me people's actual votes. I don't know. But that's what we got here. So yeah, it looks like 2-1. That was close. Last minute step in. I don't know that. I know that. I hope that that doesn't hurt your feelings here, Nonfon, but you did really good. I do think that it was a little hard to like go for one person to prepare for somebody totally different. So I don't know if that gave you an advantage or disadvantage. But I know you're ready for the one with the tuple. Any closing thoughts there, Nonfon? What do you think?
Listen, my mom told me to be nicer in debates, and it backfired on me. Okay, she watched my other debate. She said, "Stop."
But I think we both
so
gave you
much.
points for that, though.
I see. They both gave you points. I like and like I chat. I guess so. Okay. I think that honestly, you made the best point of that y'all's debate was that my thing can answer this, his thing can't. And I think even if other like beforehand or whatever. But I'm the only moderator, so I don't get a fucking vote. So whatever. But like I thought that was a good argument. But I personally like the fire. So like if you get a judge in here that does like the fire, whatever. But it just happens these two guys are a bunch of baby like bitches. No, I'm just kidding. They don't like the they like the niceties.
I think Fabian has really good presentation when he's talking. Like even if you like, I'm not a philosophy nerd, but I feel like he knows what he's talking about when he's talking. So like I think that's one thing I can say positive about him. Also, Joe Men, my one chatter, says that he really likes this debate roundup. So props, Gibbs.
I like the format.
Thank you. Oh, appreciate it. Glad y'all enjoy it. Good, yeah. So it looks like y'all will be advancing. I will set the next date. I don't know if it's gonna be next Friday or if we're gonna do New Year's Eve, but that's gonna be my plans, guys. Thank y'all for going. I will let y'all know. It'll probably be 2 weeks ish before y'all go again. We'll see. I'll be working with people's schedules, seeing on availabilities because we can run this different nights.
Just for the record, sorry, but like I have my kids every other weekend. I don't do shit online.
No, that's fine. That's fine, and we can work around schedules. Like I said, I have a couple nights open that we can plug these in. So we'll figure this out. But yeah, especially after the first round, it's gonna be easier because we're gonna have only one of these per round. But for the round opening, we're gonna do two a night here. But yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for staying for the full 2 hours. I know it's not as fun judging as it is doing it, but yeah. Any other thoughts? Shout yourselves out. Let's start with Fabian. Tell everybody where you're at. Fabian's the only one I haven't shouted out chat, but I got his YouTube link here. We'll post it and pin it. Everybody else y'all have gotten him. So go ahead, Fabian. Why don't you talk? Tell us where you are, where you're at.
Yep. Hopefully I'll be back on X tomorrow. Because apparently you're not allowed to say on X that if someone says, quote, this discussion shouldn't be based on philosophy, end quote, that they should neuter themselves and save the human race. Apparently that's frowned upon on the new Twitter. I got a 7-day ban, but you can follow me, Fabian Liberty, on YouTube or X. I'm on other platforms, but I'm not really on them that often. Yeah, it was fun. I had a great time. Love the format. If you want to learn about libertarianism, philosophy, or econ stuff, like weirdly enough, my background is in psych. Like that's what I went to grad school for counseling, but I just always end up talking about philosophy and economics because that's what the libertarians always make you do. But yeah, come hang out. It's fun. Appreciate you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's go to the clock.
Am I hearing that X isn't a free speech platform? Elon doesn't agree with free speech absolutism? That's crazy. I'm Liberal Cluck. I do YouTube, a Kick. That's what I stream. I've also started posting some TikTok Shorts because I want to get 1,000 followers so that I can start streaming on there. It's never gonna happen, but I'm currently at 0. So yeah, that's me. I think that's all I have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Nonfon.
I'm Nonfon. You can find me at YouTube at NONFON. There's a bunch of old debates that you can go watch, some of them with Gibbs in them. I stream on Twitch at Nonfon420 and Kick at Nonfon420 and on Rumble at Nonfon, and on Twitter, I'm Nonfon420.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's always so much easier when people's names are the same and every plat thing. Let me tell y'all guys, y'all want one rule of old person advice for twitching or streaming in general. It's just go as soon as you decide what your name is, go get it on every platform, even if you don't think you're gonna use that
keep
platform.
the fucking underscores out of it.
And for your taxes, highly recommend getting a DBA and maybe getting the EIN number so you can maybe write more shit off as that as well. So go ahead and look into that and figuring all that good stuff out. Anyway, go ahead, Lactoid.
Yeah, so I'm deeply concerned with some of the rumors that are coming out about Twitter. If it turns out that Elon is launching some kind of purge, which there appears to be some evidence for, then he should absolutely be open to criticism, right? I've defended Elon in the past. I think that generally he's a force for good, but that obviously he's not a demigod. Criticize him, attack him for anything he does bad. You should do that. Anybody should always be open to attack and criticism as long as it's valid. I want to thank everybody here for participating in this debate series. Liberal Cluck, thank you for debating me. Nonfon and Scott, it was fun listening to you guys. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. If you guys like what I had to say, or you just want to hear more of my content, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
Thank you so much. And then closing out here, the next one, I don't know if like I said, if we're gonna do it New Year's Eve or we're gonna do it next Friday. It should be I Count Rich versus Portland is Burning. That should be good. And then we have Average Debate Enjoyer versus the Big JC, which could be real exciting. I'll hopefully have more graphics and animated stuff and some other things. We're gonna be adding this as I go. The quality will be improving. So thanks for everybody for being here, being a part of the inaugural one, and hope y'all stick around. And like I said, there will be some kind of prize at the end. I don't know if it's going to be a very exciting prize, but we'll have something for the Grand Prix winner. Maybe it's a pick of my balls. I don't know. I'm just kidding. It won't be that. But, all right. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. Who is streaming? Is any of y'all going to be streaming?
I'm going to be jumping off.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
wait,
I
are you streaming on Twitch?
Huh?
Yeah.
I know Nonfon.
Well, I stream everywhere, but I am streaming on Twitch too. Yes.
Perfect. Here, once I finish up, I will raid into you since you were such a nice to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Y'all
be good.
Deuces. All right, boys. I need to find like a good video on how to set up virtual webcams over OBS that like work on other programs. Cause like every time I've ever tried to like set up a virtual webcam, I get it all set up, everything works, but like I can't get it to show my camera. I only get it to show like what I'm showing the audience, and it creates like things. I'm not that inclined technologically to be able to do that well. But I definitely need to figure out how to do that, because it's like it's hurting me when I go on some of these. Maybe not hurting me, but like it can be an issue when I go in some of these places and I just have like a random green screen behind me as opposed to like what I want behind me. So I got to figure that out. It's something I'll probably work on that tomorrow, actually. I'm writing it down. All right. Well, that was fun. I had a great time. Whatever. I mean, being too mean. That was like, oh, what the hell? I was on an Admiral Gibbs show. Admiral Gibbs is wild. I thought I had to go meaner for Admiral Gibbs show. Apparently not. Apparently the judges didn't appreciate it. Got to get enough members that you can hire a tech pro. I guess maybe. They didn't debate all that well, but it's not like it was 8 hours of 8 free for all. Yeah, fair enough. If you guys are here on Mondays, it's a lot. The debate wasn't the tiring part. Yeah, no, I had fun. You know, I just wish people would prepare more. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Maybe I'm like, I like to, so like one of the things that I like to do is I like to watch IQ Squared and like Gene Epstein debates and things like that. Like I like, you know, debates that are much more Oxford style, where people come ready to do a 10 to 15 minute opening statement and then come, you know, with charts, with graphs, with quotes, you know, to give like another 10 to 20 minute statement and back, and then like have like a small amount of back and forth, you know. And it's just like when the Twitch YouTube debate, you know, platform thing, even when they do like, you know, like even when they do these debates, they're just like, there's very little prep that goes into it because it's entertainment value. But I don't understand the entertainment value of not being prepared. I don't get it. But Scott, you're a boring person? Well, whatever. Yeah, I mean, Cluck was really uniquely unprepared. Which is like, if you're going to challenge a lawyer, like, be fucking prepared. And if you're prepared with your arguments and you research your arguments, it's not that hard, right? Like, I mean, like, if you want an example, like, I debated JF Karepi on whether or not IVF is like whether or not IVF is bad, right? Now, ultimately, I do believe that IVF is bad, but the only reason I believe IVF is bad is because they get rid of implanted, fertilized eggs that are quote unquote non-viable. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. I think that's murder. So, I mean, like, it is unjustifiable from that position, right? But if they just change that one thing, I don't care about IVF. And like, the thing is, but like, if you watch that debate, the debate was centered around genetics, and I'm talking to someone with a master's in, and someone who literally wrote a book on the topic, right? And it's like, you know, people say that I lost that debate or whatever, but I think I fucking crushed that debate. There are debates I'm willing to say I lost. Like the first time I debated libertarianism against Andrew Wilson, like I lost that debate, right? Now, I didn't know how to handle the situation. I didn't understand debate bro shit. You know, he like he led me into like, you know, uncomfortable thought experiments without challenging his position. He dominated the space. Like, I think I gave good arguments and a good presentation, but nevertheless, like, I lost that debate. But I crushed JF Karepi on home field advantage. And it's like, it's not because I know more about the topic. It's because I had a belief system and I prepared for the debate based off my belief system. And yeah, I have some requisite knowledge of psychology. I have a graduate education and stuff, but I was definitely out of my element in that regard. It's just wild to me that like people aren't prepared for it. He would have seemed more authoritative if Cluck had engaged in what Lactoid was saying. Yeah, he was just running from the actual thing. Your Adolf angle crushed Nonfon and made him flee in fear. The fact that you kept pressing was a big W and a huge improvement over your past efforts. Never stop going for the tap out. Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes if you have a point, you can't let that point like be escaped. One of the things that I have learned over time is that the audience is fickle and the audience doesn't pay attention. And so like, if you get a win and then they run away from it, you have to like be like, no, answer. Like, answer this. You said this. Why is it this? You have to reiterate that position. You have to say it multiple times. And when they try and run away from it, you know, at a certain point, you have to go away if they're not going to answer because you don't want to seem like a dick. But you have to then remind the audience that, like, yeah, he couldn't answer this. He couldn't engage with this. Nonfon tried to do that to me in the closing about, like, conjoined twins. And it's like, dude, I never made the claim that, like, libertarianism has no answer for whether or not you can rape a conjoined twin. The only thing I said is that it's an interesting thought experiment about, shared organs and, you know, the fact that they both need them to live. There's two minds but one body. And so the first user principle doesn't apply to, let's say, a liver because they're both the first users of that liver, right? And so it does lead to some interesting, like, changes in how things might occur. But like, I didn't fucking like the idea that you can then rape them and that's what libertarianism says is fucking wild. Like he was just trying to get a W on like some edgy shit. I have one actually debate under my belt, and I'm not sure if I won or lost. Well, I mean, I think sometimes it takes perspective to know if you won or lost a debate. There's always a dominant conjoined twin. That's what I understand, but even still, it would depend upon the situation. The lecture I sent you from Kinsella is pretty good on self-ownership without self-homesteading. Oh, fuck, I need to go over that. I think I was like saving it for like we might watch it and react to it next week sometime. Maybe like Thursday or Wednesday, depending on what I'm doing. It's a lesson I'm still trying to implement, making sure when I get a W, I actually score the point, spike the ball, do a victory dance so that everyone in the audience celebrates with me. Yeah. The two were really passive and unprepared. Hopefully you can actually talk about this stuff to Gibbs and ask for more prep. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sorry. Like, the other guy was like, Nonfon won because you were mean. And I have a chatter that said so. I'm like, whatever. But like, dude, how? Maybe he wasn't expecting it. I don't understand. But like, how do you make the claim? How is your entire claim based off of outcomes are going to be better if healthcare is treated as a human right? And the entire time he just gave one argument for that, which is that it gets rid of people not being a part of it. And it's like, dude, we had that under the ACA. It became a law that like in order to like that you have to sign up for healthcare. You have to prove that you sign up for healthcare in order to benefit from certain tax benefits, and you'll have to pay extra taxes. Like you'll get in trouble if you're not signed up for healthcare. That didn't make healthcare cheaper. The ACA made healthcare more expensive. Like we all know that. Like your only argument is empirically for a philosophy that's based purely on empirics about why this is better is that, well, what if it did this thing and we already are seeing the results of that thing and it made healthcare more expensive? And then the second one was, well, then, the single payer could negotiate and that would lower prices. And I'm like, dog, have you seen Medicare? Like, I could not think of weaker arguments than the ones he gave. Like, I legitimately could have argued Nonfon's position way better than him. Right? Like, if I was Nonfon in this example, right, I would have been like, look, when people lack access to healthcare for basic services, like just going and getting a yearly checkup at the doctor, people avoid going to the doctor because they're afraid that they can't afford it. And the problem is that's how we catch cancer. That's how we catch skin cancer. That women need mammograms. They need, men need prostate exams after a certain age. Like you need routine checkups that are relatively cheap, but can prevent millions of dollars of surgery and healthcare costs down the future if you simply make sure that these people are able to get those regular checkups. Preventative medicine requires access to healthcare, and you, the taxpayer, paying for Medicare, paying for Medicaid, and things like that, you're subsidizing these people that that are having these really expensive surgeries that are ruining their lives, that are keeping them from being productive members of society and having a good job and increasing the GDP and all those wonderful things that create opportunity and create a stronger economy and create jobs for other people. You're preventing all of that, and then you're still having to pay more because they're not getting the access that they need so that they can get to a doctor's office and just get the the basic care that we know is a much better return on investment than someone waiting 7 or 8 years to go to the doctor until it's too late. Like that's what I would have said if I was Nonfon. Like, where was the prep for this? You know what I mean? Like that would have been a difficult thing to discuss, right? That would have been something I would have had to have grappled with and talked about waiting lines and talked about how that preventative medicine isn't so preventative when the healthcare system is burdened by like the costs of socialism. And then that gets into a very abstract, thing that most people aren't really aware that like the socialist system of healthcare is bogged down not because it's not given enough money, but because the system is ineffective, because it can't solve the economic calculation problem. Like that would have been a difficult thing for me to sell against the audience. but like he didn't have like reasoned arguments like that, and then he just didn't have metrics. I mean, for Christ's sake, there are like 1 million corporations and 1 million government agencies and 1 million academics that put out bullshit studies. He could have just buried me with bad data, and I would have looked like I was like dishonest if he would have just started like shoving fucking, shoving like different points of data at me. He didn't do any of that. He was just like, yeah, but what if we had this thing that we already have? Wouldn't that be better, even though the evidence shows it's worse? What? Yes, if young, healthy people need something desperately, it's not a high deductible catastrophic policy. It's a Medicare policy that they can pay for or go to prison. Yeah, for sure. Scott is overthinking this. The commie thinks winning a debate is a right, and all he has to do is show up and look pretty. Just wait, he'll start wearing a dress. Y'all are wild. Y'all are wild. But I mean, what is a right? You know what I mean? It's just some random entitlement that the government gives. I do think Lactoid was wrong, though, in saying that he should have pushed me on my libertarian philosophy about, the inherent situation, because, like, I would have just responded and turned it on him. It's like, you already believe that there is an inherently right thing. Even by your own metric, you recognize that there is a policy or a set of policy prescriptions that would maximize utility, and that Hitler didn't do that correctly. That Hitler picked rights or picked things that weren't utility maximizing. So you already agreed that there is an objective, perfect thing out there. It's just our ability to determine that. So, like, why would you come at me for saying that there is an inherently true thing? And if you think that's wrong, then what you're saying is rights are a meaningless word that I'm just stealing so that I can push my commie bullshit. To be serious, when he pushes you that libertarianism has no oughts, your first response is to instantly strike back. You don't have them either, relativist. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, but like, in many ways, Shrek Eyes, this was a debate for the term right. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it comes down to. And it's showcased by the fact that he didn't go into the metrics and why we ought to have this policy, right? Like, he was there to defend the left's usage of right as a nonsense term. I don't know. I wish I need better opponents. That's all I'm saying. I want a challenge. And like, many of these guys just don't give me a challenge. Yeah, Casimir, I think you might be right. I would. Yeah, you're probably right. It's like, no, you don't have fucking oughts. It's all relativist bullshit. I have one single ought. Man ought do what's in his within his own rational self-interest. It's not in my rational self-interest to subsidize shitty healthcare systems. Sacrifices am I in my rational self-interest. What is good for me, what is good for society is also good for me. And stealing fucking money and you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Not even getting into it. Like, man ought do what is in his own rational self-interest. And if he attacks me on it, I'm gonna be like, cool. I would only add within the bounds of libertarian law. That's kind of assumed, but I guess for the audience, it's necessary. Hey, Sil Fox, I'm about to get out of here. Mostly because Friday night is not normally a streaming night anyways. So I was busy. I was doing other things. I had a blast, though. Appreciate you guys. But, yeah, I'm a hop out of here, boys. I will see you definitely Sunday, barring anything happening. I don't think anything happens, but Sunday we should do a Sunday fun day. We may hang out, bullshit, watch a funny video or two, play some Path of Exile or something. Should be a fun time. Sil, you are 9.5 out of 10 on my biased scorecard this debate because Adolf showed up in the closing statement. There you go. Sunday is a go day. I don't know what that means, but hell yeah. All right, guys. I will, like, share, subscribe. Consider a membership. You'll get some emotes. It's all fun and games. I don't gatekeep any content. It's just here for the donation. get in the Discord, follow me on X. Hopefully, hopefully I'll make it out of the current X purge. I should get my X account back tomorrow. We'll see. Who knows? What I'm seeing. There you go. I'm still on read only. God, I wish my region had a Go club. Oh, God, no. I don't fucking play Go. All right, boys. I'm out of here. I'll see you Sunday or Monday or Wednesday or Thursday.